Hello, and welcome to Back Through the Lens, where two film school friends talk about movies through the haze of nostalgia. The good, the bad, and the ones that aren't quite how we remember them. I'm your host Rachel, and with me is my co-host Joe. Today's movie is St. Elmo's Fire.
The summer of '85 is in full swing. Somehow, Bryan Adams and Tears for Fears are still on the top of the charts on the radio, but other songs climbing the top 100 were Sussudio, Raspberry Beret, and A View to a Kill. The current top film is Pale Rider, while on TV, Dallas, Cheers, and The Cosby Show rule the ratings. If you were a kid, you were probably playing with Cabbage Patch Kids and Transformers, or, if you were a gamer, Pac-Man and Tetris. In this season, we celebrate films that turn 40 in 2025, the same year we also hit that milestone.
So before we get into the movie, I did want to talk a little bit about the Brat Pack. I'm sure we mentioned them in our episode about the Breakfast Club that feels like ages ago at this point. So in St. Elmo's Fire, you have Emilio Estevez, Judd Nelson, and Rob Lowe. Apparently, while filming this movie, Emilio Estevez was spending time with this journalist, David Bloom from New York Magazine, who was doing an article specifically on Emilio Estevez. Apparently, he was getting an Orson Welles kind of deal with a major studio to be a writer, director, actor.
Huh.
Yeah, and he was going to be like the youngest person since Orson Welles to have a deal like this. He had a screenplay that John Hughes really liked and spoke very highly of in this article. So there are conflicting stories about what went on this night, but basically Emilio Estevez maybe felt that he had come off as too much of a workaholic or too straight-laced when he had initially spoken with David Bloom. So he invited David Bloom out with him and some of the other actors, and he was, according to some sources, asking Judd Nelson and Rob Lowe to like ham it up and make it look like he can have fun and be a regular 22 or 23-year-old in addition to good at his job. I don't know.
Right.
It's like I said, depending on who you talk to, there are some different versions of this story. But what did happen is that the three of them took David Bloom to the Hard Rock Cafe in LA one night after filming Wrapped for the day. This movie was still filming. This ended up being the June 10th, 1985 cover story for New York Magazine. David Bloom basically followed them around all night and decided that instead of just a profile on Emilio Estevez and whatever this deal was with whatever studio, that he was going to write this entire cover story about the young actors of today and how they all hang out together, and also apparently how they behave badly in his eyes, particularly how they might be a little bratty.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
Thus came his term, the Brat Pack. We have David Bloom and this article to thank for the term Brat Pack. Obviously a riff on the Rat Pack, Frank Sinatra and whatnot.
The other rats.
The funny thing is, though, well, okay, there are a lot of funny things about this, but it's such a strange article, and it's not that the article is strange. I feel like I could believe some of these stories about Emilio Estevez worrying about how he was coming off to be true when you actually read the article, and his behavior just seems odd. There's this whole segment of him trying to get in to see Lady Hawk at a theater for free because he's Emilio Estevez and he knows someone who works at the theater, and he keeps going on and on about how, don't worry, I can get in, I can get our tickets covered. And I could understand if maybe he was trying to come off a certain way. I could also understand how a lot of these things came off as bratty. I think, according to the guys, they were just trying to ham it up and be like, Emilio Estevez can also be the life of the party. It just didn't come off right.
He tried too hard to swing the pendulum, and as always, when you do that, it comes out bad the other side too.
Yes. But they were also just a bunch of like really popular young actors hanging out at the Hard Rock Cafe and had girls approaching them. Some of this was going to come off as maybe kind of full of themselves regardless, just because of the situation we're in.
Right.
also, there was so much back and forth between them and the journalist. It almost gave me secondhand embarrassment, honestly, because there were all these things that came out after the article where Emilio Estevez was like, well, I thought he was my friend and we were just hanging out. And this journalist is like, no, I'm a journalist and you're my subject. And
Right.
I am surprised. You know, he was young and I understand that. But also, he comes from a Hollywood family. You know, Martin Sheen is his
Hmm.
dad. I'm surprised he wouldn't be a little more cautious with the press.
Well, it just seemed like he was trying to not look like a stick in the mud.
Yeah.
Because these other actors that are mentioned in the article, a lot of them are like known for the Hollywood bad boys or like the good looking kids, the next
Mm-hmm.
heartthrob. And Emilio is, like you said, super talented and he has this great deal coming up and
Mm-hmm.
he's 26 maybe. And
No, he was like 22 or 23.
okay. And John Hughes is like, yeah, he's better than me because I can't even act. He's about to direct and write and do all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he was trying to overcompensate because he knew there was a piece about him and he's hanging out with all his other equally famous friends and he doesn't want to look like the lame one, I guess.
And there's some little details that do make some of them, like I said, sound full of themselves, sound kind of bratty. But again, it's this journalist's perception of what was going on. And also, like, if this was almost a staged hangout, I
Yeah, it
could
did read
see.
as kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't read the whole thing and it was very long. And after a while, I was like, yeah, we get it. These kids suck. Ugh. Thanks, Bloom. But during the beginning, when he's setting it all up at the Hard Rock Cafe, it sounded, at least from my point of view of reading it, he was very jealous. He came across as like snooty. Oh, the old Hollywood days, you used to have to be an understudy. These kids are just so talented, they skipped that. Oh my god. It came off a little green with envy, and it
I
kind
could
of
see
made me
that a
not
little.
want to read more, but then I kept going. I didn't know the Brat Pack was like a negative name. Growing up, I didn't know much about
Mm-hmm.
them. I just kind of associated them with John Hughes films.
Exactly.
I didn't know it was explicitly male actors. I thought Molly Ringwald and Ali Sheedy and the other
Yes.
female actors that were in these other movies were a part of the Brats, and I thought it was like a cute nickname as like the next level or the next wave, I should say, of Hollywood All Stars, like
Mm-hmm.
the Rat Pack. And I was wrong apparently on all those things.
I was so wrong. Yeah, I thought of it similarly to you. It was just these young actors that I personally associated mostly with John Hughes movies. And I thought they were called the Brat Pack maybe just because they were young
Right.
and like the movies they were in were teen movies for the most part. And I mean, St. Elmo's Fire, they're post college, but barely, so they're still young adults. I just thought it was a cute nickname.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was just something they started calling them maybe because they all came up at the same time or whatever. I had no idea that it was supposed to be negative, but also that all the actors hated it.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it after we discuss St. Elmo's Fire, but it really, a lot of the press I feel they were doing for St. Elmo's Fire ended up almost more so being pressed to speak out against this horrible nickname that had been given to them.
Who was the one actor that won an Oscar that was like falling from grace that still hung out with him? Like, yeah, this is our other friend.
Timothy Hutton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They did not
Um,
like him. That's not in my Brad Pack. That's not me. I wouldn't have thought of that.
yeah, that's the other thing is that the writer, David Bloom, he lists actors who are definitely in the Brat Pack, according to him.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise
Yeah,
was part of,
no.
he said Tom Cruise was the handsome one. Nicolas Cage was the ethnic one.
Yeah, I know, I guess maybe. Is it Because he's Italian? Am I ethnic?
I reread that so many times when I was
Yeah.
going through the list of actors and the superlatives he was giving them. And I was like, is it because he's Italian? I don't
Yeah.
get it. Also, I feel like if this was written today, it could have just been like the Nepo baby because he's a Coppola.
Well, then so is Estevez.
Of course, yeah.
There's a couple others. Either
Sean
directly.
Penn.
Yeah. But they all kind of had a little bit of like Nepo baby isms.
A lot of them did, yeah. And but of course, this guy seemed also, like you said, very peeved that none of them went to acting school.
I
Right out
mean,
of high school, they started acting, and apparently this is them not appreciating the craft or something.
well, they did state in the article that Emilio and I want to say Sean Penn, they went to high school together.
Yeah, it was them, and there was a third, and I can't remember who it was now.
And they were like literally writing their own stage plays for high school and directing and starring in them. So like they clearly had the talent already and they were just using it. And being direct offspring of famous actors, they kind of knew some of the ins and outs. So all they had to do was take their talent and then the knowledge passed down to them. So they kind of
Yeah.
were understudies to their own fathers.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe I'm thinking more so of now compared to the 80s, but there are plenty of like actors or singers or whatever, people who break out and they're not necessarily formally trained.
Right.
I don't know. I
That's
don't
show
know.
business, baby.
I guess I never understood the real history of the Brat Pack until now. And it was
Yeah,
all
I
tied
was
up in the time that St. Elmo's fire came out.
I was a little floored, maybe is not the right word here, but taken aback reading this. Like, oh, this guy just, he hates all these kids. And, I can kind of see it as the old man looking at these kids. Like, okay, sure, they have everything and they did nothing for it. That's how he felt. I was in college at that age. And yeah, you're like hanging out with people your age and you're staying up late and partying and, I don't know, doing young people shit. Get over
Yeah.
yourself, Bloom. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was confused about too, because he mentioned something like Emilio trying to get the tickets to Lady Hawk, which I agree it sounds very silly in the article. But then they go to a nightclub and they're waiting in line just like everyone else, and someone, a bouncer or someone with the club recognizes them, and then they get in. So you can't say they were being unreasonable all the time, but one of the moments that stuck out to me was when they were at the club. He said that Judd Nelson was dancing alone, and then supposedly because no one noticed him or recognized him, he left the dance floor. And I was like, I don't know, if I was just the only one on the dance floor and no one was joining me, I'd probably be like, well, this is lame. And like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
could have read that a completely different way.
Judd was just trying to get the party started and no one was there for it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know what? And Emilio had told them, please come out with me to show this guy I'm fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So with that, we will officially introduce our movie, St. Elmo's Fire, directed by Joel Schumacher, released June 28th, 1985, rated R.
7 friends try to navigate post-college life while attempting to hold their incestuous friend group together. Alec and Leslie, the power couple, he's on the rise in the world of politics while she's figuring out her own career. Kevin, the writer, and his roommate Kirby, who's studying pre-law. One believes that love is a gimmick while the other believes it's the truest thing. Billy has hopes of being a musician, while Jules lives a lavish lifestyle she may not actually be able to afford. And Wendy is the one who tries to look after them all as she attempts to separate herself from her parents.
It's a really nice rundown of everyone in this movie.
Thanks.
Yep.
I kind of took an idea from the trailer that was playing on Amazon, which was not the trailer I saw when we were going through all the 1985 movies, like which ones could we possibly want to watch. The one I saw on IMDb was like much darker looking. Like it shows the scene of Emilio coming in from the rain looking like a psychopath, and this one just like it did, like it looked like a different movie. And then this one on Amazon just like showed the actor and then the name of the actor and then like them smiling. And then you're like, okay, there's a shit ton of brats in this movie.
Brats in this movie. Oh man.
So those are my
So
breakdowns of the
excited to
trailers.
Yeah. Forgot to watch the trailer. I was like reading articles and watching the documentary. There was so much. So the first time I saw this movie was in middle school, and I specifically remember watching it because a teacher had filled out one of those all about me surveys and said this was her favorite movie, and I was like, "Oh, Brat Pack. I like the John Hughes movies I have seen on television. I should check this one out." And it was not the same.
No, it was not.
Right.
And I hope you don't get mad. I think you knew this. This is my first watch for this episode. I always knew about this movie. I liked other, I want to call them Brat Pack films. That's what I used to call them, but now I don't know what to call them anymore.
Just call them Brat Pack. It's fine. We don't know these people personally.
Yeah. Although if they like to come on our show and befriend us, then that would be great. I just never cared to see it, I guess. I like Breakfast Club. This looked like opposite of Breakfast Club. And it just never really drew my attention, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know if I had really heard of this one. And again, my introduction to Brat Pack, 80s teen movies, whatever you want to say, John Hughes, was all whatever was on TNT or TBS or USA, whatever. So I'm pretty sure, I wasn't even watching the full movies as it was. I was watching the edited for television versions. But I think for a while, if it wasn't something that was being shown on cable, I didn't really know about it. And then I think when this teacher mentioned it was a Brat Pack movie, I think just the next time I went to the video store, I looked for it.
That's fair. I mean, obviously the cast is great. But, yeah, it's just there was... I think maybe part of it was I didn't know anything about it, and whatever trailer I saw 20 plus years ago, I was like, yeah, this looks boring, I guess. I don't know. It kind of plays out like a soap opera, and I don't know. That wasn't really a thing I've ever really been into.
I didn't know what I was in for, so.
Same, yeah. I guess I had two different trailers. One looked dark and scary, like, oh, this is kind of intriguing, and the one looked just like, here's some pretty faces and their names that you know. Hell yeah. Okay.
Yep. All right. Well, I have so many thoughts that we will get into. The story for St. Elmo's Fire originally started as a short story by Carl Kurlander about a crush he had on his coworker while working at a hotel called the St. Elmo Hotel. And
okay.
Somehow, like, he had submitted this short story, ended up getting a scholarship to Duke, and then the professors at Duke encouraged him to turn it into a screenplay. And then somewhere in here, he got an internship where he was an assistant for Joel Schumacher out in Hollywood. Joel Schumacher, who we have spoken about before on our Batman Forever Val Kilmer episode, I don't think I realized he directed this.
I had no idea. Saw that name pop up on the screen. I was like, interesting.
Right? And I think, at the time when I first saw this, I was like, Brat Pack, it's a John Hughes movie. Everything's a John Hughes movie. This was my knowledge of film at the time. Joel Schumacher was coming off of a flop, DC Cabs. I purposefully didn't put this in the notes. Would you like to guess what DC Cabs was a star vehicle for? Who it was a star vehicle for? Think about the 80s, but in a more ridiculous way, not a Brat Pack way. Think of who they let be in movies for whatever reason.
Oh, God. The 80s, everybody.
I know. It was Mr. T.
That was not on my bingo card. He was all over the place. It would make sense that he would be in... I'm not saying it would make sense that he was DC Cabs. I know nothing about this movie, but he was on TV. He was in movies. He had a cereal, for Christ's sake.
DC Cabs apparently was an ensemble comedy about cabbies in DC and the hijinks they get up to.
Okay. Sure, yeah.
Yep.
So like TV show Taxi, but not funny.
No. But anyway, while they were filming this, Schumacher noticed when they were in DC, all these young people were, in his words, yuppies, upwardly mobile, dressing really nice, basically like tiny adults and not teens or young adults. And he was very interested in this concept. So when Carl Kurlander showed him his screenplay for St. Elmo's Fire, he thought maybe he could also weave some social and political commentary into the story.
Oh, did he ever?
Did he ever? A quote from Joel Schumacher. A lot of people turned down the script. The head of one major studio called its 7-member cast the most loathsome humans he had ever read on the page.
Damn.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree, to be honest with you.
Maybe not all 7.
Not all of them. We'll get into
5
it.
for sure.
5 for sure. This is the thing that bothers me about this movie, is like you could have had a perfectly reasonable commentary on like young adults entering post-college life, or just trying to, you know, be out on their own and the anxiety that comes with all of that and finding a job. And but also everyone here is horrible in their own way and ridiculous about relationships, so it all goes off the rails.
Yeah, so many thoughts.
I know.
Keep going.
Keep going. Okay. Executive producer Ned Tannen was also a producer on The Breakfast Club. He was a big fan of Schumacher. He used to work at Universal, and Joel Schumacher had written a movie called Car Wash that Ned said was brilliant. So he was like, yes, anything you want to do, I'll go with. Car Wash is an ensemble comedy about everyone working at a car wash with Richard Pryor. So there's ensemble comedies everywhere. So Ned Tannen, who was Schumacher's cheerleader here, was no longer with Universal, but he knew someone that worked at Columbia. So he called him up, offered him the script. They went for it, I guess, because they were friends with Ned, and Ned vouched for Schumacher. I really don't have any other explanation here. No further explanation as to like how they got over these 7 horrible characters or whatever to get this made.
So maybe a studio saw the script and saw these 7 horrible characters, but with this new surge of young stars that are making money over hand over fist,
Yeah, that's true.
blockbuster after hit after blockbuster, they're like, well, if we put 7 shiny new objects on these horrible characters, all the kids will come see it. So, I mean, it's, again, at the end of the day, it gotta make money for it to continue. So,
right.
You need to feed the beast.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. Maybe they just saw the dollar signs with the actors who could be attached. They brought in Lauren Schuler, also previously referred to as Lauren Schuler Donner in our episode on Lady Hawk and also The Goonies, because she went on to marry Richard Donner. Is that his first name?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Richard Donner, who directed Lady Hawk and The Goonies. Lauren had produced Lady Hawk. We discussed her in the Goonies episode too, but I think it was more so just as someone who had stories from the set because she was there. I don't think she actually produced the Goonies. But Lauren Schuler, also, again, a Cleveland native, had worked with Schumacher on a TV movie when she was in her 20s. I'm honestly very interested in her career, that she was able to be a female producer, have her name on her own production company, and like start that young. I would love to pick her brain sometime. Like, could she write a memoir about her time in Hollywood, please? All right. So Lauren Schuler getting shit done. She gets brought in at, like I said, 3rd appearance in our personal season 4 here. A quote from her on the script. It spoke to me because it presented the problem of going through 4 years of college with all these friends and then you're moving on. What happens to them? It is a very emotional subject and it will always be topical. It's about moving on with your life and how you keep those connections. Which, like, again,
that sounds better.
Yes, a reasonable thing to explore. So Columbia hated the title, St. Elmo's Fire. They suggested that Schumacher change the name to Sparks or The Real World.
Sparks?
I don't know.
Okay, and The Real World. I wonder if that's where MTV got their name for their show.
Yeah, I mean, as a person my age, I can't not think of MTV when that phrase gets brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Joel Schumacher insisted that the title St. Elmo's Fire fit because, in his words, it's self-created drama. It was the idea that when you're in your 20s, everything is life or death. Getting an apartment, trying to have that first relationship that works, trying to get through life, and see if you're ever going to have a life. Apparently, St. Elmo's Fire... Okay, I'm so confused about the concept of St. Elmo's Fire because I thought I understood what it was, and then in the movie they explain it a different way and say it's all fake, but it's not. It's a real phenomenon. If you look it up on Wikipedia, there are pictures of it. It's sort of a glow that... Look, I don't know. When I saw the picture, I understood what it was, okay? Because there was something where it was like glowing off the edge of an airplane. Mm-hmm. And it can also happen in the atmosphere, not just on metal. And way back when, before people like understood science or whatever, sailors would follow thinking it was something it wasn't, as if it was actual fire. It was weird because apparently this comparison doesn't even really work because in the script they actually get the description of St. Elmo's Fire incorrect.
Okay. Yeah, I was...
And we will
confused.
get to that when we get to that part. I feel like I understand less.
I could just picture the meeting they're having with Schumacher. Like, okay, we don't love this title. It doesn't make sense. He flips to page, like, 90 in the script. But look, he says it in the scene. He says the title. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We should also point out, too, that the bar where they all hang out all the time is called St. Elmo.
Mm-hmm.
Is it called St. Elmo's Fire? Or is it just
St. Elmo's?
Okay.
Like, we're going to St. Elmo's. Just like the producer guy in the hotel he went to.
Right.
Yeah, that's the guy.
The other thing I personally take a little umbrage with is self-created drama of being post-college and trying to figure your life out. I realize that this was the 80s and they all just fell into job after job. But as someone who graduated into the recession and was like, literally, how will I have money to live? I can't help taking all these quotes in such a different way about it being just self-created drama. You're gonna be fine. It'll be fine. It's like, I don't know. Jobs and money and like housing are real problems.
Right. Then, at least as far as 1985 and Schumacher's looking at it, I would say it's even specifically this movie, the script. Yeah, it is kind of self-created drama. But then making a generalization about being in your 20s, everything is life or death. Yeah, I'm sorry. We did graduate after the housing market crash and then the recession. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I wasn't even sure. I'm like, I don't want to go to college. And my parents were like, why? It's like, because of Republicans. I got 4 years of George W. I know I'm going to get 4 more. There's not going to be a job for me. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm still eating that cake. So,
yep.
You know.
Yeah, this is what always sticks out to me in older media. And I'm sure I've referenced this before, but like in Mad Men, someone loses their job and they're like, okay, I'll just go down the street and like work for this company. And I was like, is that what it was like?
Right.
Did you just have a job?
You just had jobs, yeah.
Yeah.
They were everywhere. They fell out of trees.
Apparently. Also, we should mention all the characters. I think almost all the characters in this movie have like really wealthy parents. So even if they could not find a job, they would actually be fine.
Maybe some of them aren't so well off, I think.
Sure.
And they like kind of mooch off their other friends, but they all could be fine.
They all could be fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. So for casting, Lauren Schuler really wanted Ali Sheedy, Emilio Estevez, and Judd Nelson because John Hughes had been working with them on The Breakfast Club, and he recommended them. Lauren Schuler and John Hughes had worked together on Mr. Mom, which we mentioned when we were discussing Michael Keaton's background on our Beetlejuice episode.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote it, she produced it. Schumacher has said that he really had to push hard for certain actors, particularly Emilio Estevez, Judd Nelson, and Andrew McCarthy. All I could find about this was that the studio wanted bigger names. And I know one of the names they threw out there was Tom Cruise, which makes a little more sense now that I read that article, and Tom Cruise was kind of considered Brat Pack at the time. But I was surprised because maybe Judd Nelson wasn't a big name. I feel like Emilio Estevez had already done Repo Man at this point.
Yeah.
And some other, The Outsiders maybe. Not The Breakfast Club, but still. And then Andrew McCarthy had been in, what was the big John Hughes movie before The Breakfast Club? 16 Candles?
16 Candles, yeah.
Right? Wasn't he?
I recognize him. I recognized him when we're watching the movie. I'm like, why does he look familiar? Oh, he's the guy from Weekend at Bernie's.
That was it. Yeah, that too.
Which came later.
Yeah. He was in Pretty in Pink, but that was after.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, They were all known, though. And so I was surprised at this. But Andrew McCarthy said that when they flew him out to audition, he was brought in a limo, and he left the audition being driven to the airport in a VW Bug. So he felt like he had blown it. But Schumacher really wanted him, unbeknownst to him. Other people who auditioned, Anthony Edwards, Leah Thompson, and John Cryer. I did not realize that they were all kind of considered Brat Pack, too.
I feel like everybody was Brat Pack, according to this article.
Yeah.
Like, I read it and I was like, is this just the cast from Outsiders?
Yeah. Mare Winningham, who plays Wendy, it sounds like she was cast pretty easily, but Joel Schumacher was worried that she was too skinny. Mare's character, Wendy, is self-conscious because of her weight. She's a little chubby, I guess. I also honestly feel like the outfits they put her in don't help. But they were going to take all that out of the script. But then she ended up getting pregnant. So they put it all back in.
Which is so silly. And she was the one that I didn't recognize the most. I was like, I feel like she looks familiar, but... And she's in a lot of things.
Yes.
I don't know if anything I've seen. I was least familiar with her as far as these 7 actors.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure about what she had done leading up to this point, but she's still working. I feel like I know her face. I feel like she gets cast as a mom a lot. That's the best way I could put it.
And I don't mean any disrespect, but she looks like a mom. Like, she just has a mom presence, even in this movie.
She does, I know.
And the character doesn't help her.
Yeah.
She's literally, like, taking care of Billy.
She's like the mom. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If I would say she's the mom, I would say Alec is the dad, if we really want to put superlatives on them.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Alec is a shitty dad at times. I just wanted to point out, because I just found these interesting tidbits. She dated Val Kilmer in high school. That was her high school sweetheart. She was co-valedictorian with Kevin Spacey. She also later went on to marry Anthony Edwards, who auditioned for this movie, was Brat Pack adjacent, apparently. Both of them had previous marriages. They had been friends for decades and got married in 2021.
Okay.
And this was apparently her 3rd pregnancy. When she was pregnant in St. Elmo's Fire, this was her 3rd kid.
Semi-unrelated question.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the 2nd or 3rd time we've mentioned Val Kilmer. How come he wasn't Brat Pack adjacent? I mean, he was in Top Gun with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, that's a good question, because Top Gun was one of the ones they cited in terms of why Tom Cruise was considered Brat Pack. I don't have an answer to that. It's a good question.
And we'll see him again later on this season, too.
There was something about Sean Penn getting too method or too serious, and that's why he kind of stopped being considered Brat Pack, or was never fully Brat Pack. And I wonder if you could make that...
You're too talented, Mr. Penn.
I know. But I wonder if that could be said of Val Kilmer, sort of, because he went on to do more dramatic movies or serious movies. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out when we talk about him later.
Okay.
Okay. Put a pin in it. Rob Lowe was only 19. I guess in comparison, to give you some idea, like Mayor Winningham was 26 at this point. Not a huge difference, but sort of a difference at that age, I guess. Schumacher didn't think he could pull off the part of Billy just because he wasn't as mature and experienced, and he felt Billy was too emotionally complicated of a role, which I think it is. I just don't think maybe we got what they wanted us to get out of the character of Billy.
See, I'm reading this, and I feel like having someone that is actually younger makes more sense, because if we're doing this game, if Wendy is the mom and Alec is the dad, Billy is the baby.
Yes.
Billy is like
yes.
the last he's like the oops, we can still get pregnant baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is the baby.
It's funny because Billy had an oops too.
Billy is an oops.
Yeah. Apparently, Schumacher met with Rob Lowe 3 times. He just did the third meeting as a courtesy and was like totally gonna blow him off and just be like, this was fun, but seriously, no. But then he said he had this moment where he was like, why don't I just say yes? He's so passionate about it and he wants it so desperately. According to Carl Kurlander, the co-writer, at one of the auditions, Rob Lowe showed up with a 6-pack of beer and he was like, oh, that's Billy. That's it. Like, he was much more easily convinced.
Man, that's all it takes. I'd have so many different acting roles now.
I know. Judd Nelson, I could not find too much about why he was considered, other than just he came highly recommended from John Hughes. He had a quote that said, I think I'm probably going to be criticized a lot. My character is very straight, very conservative, very career-oriented. After Breakfast Club, I think people will say I should have played another street punk. They'll criticize me for not doing what I'm good at, for trying something new. Apparently, he had played a Bender-type character in a movie that came out before The Breakfast Club, so that was rolling into this concept of him, but I don't know. He only had like 2 movies under his belt, or 2 major roles anyway.
It's called acting, Judd.
Well, Ali Sheedy said that she did not understand why she was being considered for the role of Leslie, which would make more sense if you had seen the movie. She's kind of female Judd Nelson's character, very buttoned up, seemingly very straight-laced, very career-oriented. Her outfits are something. She called it very Ralph Lauren. Maybe that's what Ralph Lauren designs looked like in the 80s. I don't know. But she was very preppy, very yuppie. And she said that the whole time she was meeting with Schumacher, she was in character as Allison for The Breakfast Club. And she was wearing all black and really like that grungy kind of look she has for The Breakfast Club. She was staying in that. And she said later that she never really felt like Leslie. She felt like she was playing dress up and not really inhabiting that role. But it sounds like she was convinced to sign on because Ned Tannen, the producer, since he had also produced The Breakfast Club, she had a good relationship with him. She felt that he was really protective of them and helped them navigate Hollywood, especially the ones that considered themselves more outsiders. Like, I think her and Andrew McCarthy came from New York, and they always felt a little on the outside because you had these like LA kids who had kind of grown up in the industry, like we said, like Rob Lowe, or I'm sorry, Rob Lowe was an LA kid. I don't think he had relatives in the industry, but like Emilio Estevez.
Yeah.
She was also in War Games with Matthew Broderick. I just included that because apparently War Games is what got Matthew Broderick cast in Lady Hawk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the studio was okay with her in particular because War Games had been a hit.
And in that article, Mr. Bloom puts Matthew Broderick adjacent because of War Games as well.
Yes.
It's like, you can't just like say, hey, you were in a movie and it was okay, you're a brat.
Yeah. It's also just like a weird, like, I don't know, there's always young actors. I think it was more, we'll get into this, the cultural idea of like teen movies.
Yeah, I guess.
Demi Moore was cast as Jules apparently very easily. Lauren Schuler said she showed up for her audition with tags still on her clothes, and they felt that was very Jules.
Like what, she's gonna wear them and then return them?
Maybe.
Okay.
Or just that she was so like flighty she forgot to remove them. I'm not sure which. Because I thought that too. I thought like it could be either way. Apparently, she was, they call it discovered by Carl Kurlander because she was in the same office meeting with Cameron Crowe. They were in the same like office building, and Joel Schumacher and Carl Kurlander saw her walking down the hallway, and they were like, catch that girl, find out if she's an actress, because they were very taken with her look. It's funny though, because like in this movie she does not look really like Demi Moore.
Yeah, the first couple times on screen I was like, who is this? Oh yes, it's her. This is okay.
Because when I think Demi Moore, I think long black hair, personally.
Yes.
And apparently that was part of, you know, them remembering the first time they saw her was her long black hair. And I'm like, interesting that that's the one thing that's really different about her in this movie.
Yeah.
Although apparently she was dealing with a drug problem as this was all going on. Joel Schumacher got word that she was showing up to the costume fittings drunk and high at 9 in the morning. Joel Schumacher also had a history with addiction. He had gotten clean at this point, so he and Ali Sheedy, who apparently really was real life close friends with Demi Moore at the time, they staged an intervention, got her to rehab before shooting even started. And
Wow.
she had, I don't know exactly what to call it, but like a sober companion on set with her the whole time.
Okay.
And she credits Schumacher really for helping her get clean and kind of giving her her career, because he got really tough with her and was like, you're gonna ruin your life if you don't do this, like if you keep going this way.
It's like so dangerous though. It's like, hey, newly fragile sober person, you're gonna play the drug addict in the movie.
I know. That's all I could think of when I read this. I had already rewatched the movie. All I could think of were the scenes of her like snorting coke. Like,
Yeah.
as soon as I read this, I was like, okay. Andie MacDowell, who is not part of the main seven, she had just transitioned from modeling to acting. I always forget that she was a really big model, like supermodel status. Unfortunately for her, her film debut was in a movie called Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes, which came out in 1984. Her dialogue had all been dubbed over by Glenn Close. I couldn't find anything as to a reason other than Andie MacDowell having a heavy Southern accent, which I have heard her talk about before as like maybe her Southern accent was something she had to overcome to play different roles. But it's weird to me that I guess they would hire someone that would need all this voice work.
Right. Well, I've never seen this extremely long Tarzan title of a movie.
Right.
I'm assuming that if she's transitioning from modeling to acting, she's in a Tarzan movie, she might be chosen for the bikini body that she may have had.
Yes. She was the female lead, Jane.
Jane?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yep. But anyway, the implication around Hollywood now was that Andie MacDowell couldn't act. The studio definitely didn't want to get involved with all of that. Joel Schumacher really pushed for her. I think he just saw something in her acting. He was like, she'll be great, it'll be fine. She really credits him for saving her acting career. Like, being cast in St. Elmo's Fire, in her opinion, gave her her acting career.
Yeah, as I've never even heard of this other movie that she was first in. Mm-hmm. I also just saw this movie for the first time, so I mean, I pretty much know her from Groundhog Day.
Well, right, yeah, same.
And like other things after that or whatnot, but like to me, I read or hear that name and that's what I'm thinking of.
Well, and apparently St. Elmo's Fire was the first movie she like fully acted in, arguably, because her lines weren't dubbed over.
Right.
So filming. This is all set in DC. They all went to Georgetown University. I always forget Georgetown is Catholic, they're Jesuit. They wouldn't let them film on campus because of the premarital sex in the movie. Carl Kurlander pointed out, he pointed this out to whoever he was speaking with at Georgetown, that they let The Exorcist film there. He pointed out there's a lot of objectionable things that a young girl does and says in The Exorcist. And they said, yeah, but in the end, good triumphs over evil. That's the important part.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that makes sense, because who saves the day? The Catholic priest. It's like almost propaganda film to join the Catholic Church.
Right. Yeah, like how in older movies, like you could make gangster movies as long as the gangsters got punished in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't let them get away with things. They ended up filming at the University of Maryland, which is 10 miles away. So that was their college campus. And that's it. That brings us to the start of our movie.
Why did they really want to have to film at George? Just because it takes place in Georgetown, they want to film it, like they want authenticity? Like, does it matter? There are literally 2 scenes on the college campus?
Cinema verite. I don't know. Well, I guess Joel Schumacher had already filmed in D.C. Maybe he already had a crew he could work with out there. I don't know. He made that D.C. Cabbie movie, so...
Yeah, Taxi. You want to talk about connections? That's got Christopher Lloyd, Danny DeVito.
I was just thinking about Mr. T again. I had not thought about, like, he was everywhere when we were kids.
Yeah.
And I have not thought, like, I completely forgot he existed. Imagine trying to explain that to my kid. Like, this man was so popular when I was your age.
Because he had a mohawk and a lot of gold necklaces.
Mm-hmm.
And he pitied so many fools.
Oh, God. Okay.
Movie starts. We get the Columbia Picture logo. Nothing crazy to see here. Classy looking logo. I mean, needs updated in 2026, but nothing's exploding. Nothing is cracking. There's no David Bowie quotes. Which honestly wouldn't be a surprise for this movie if there was like some sort of like existential quote about angst or something. I don't know.
It seems like the kind of movie that would have put the definition of St. Elmo's fire at the beginning.
No, that comes later.
I know.
Yeah, when we see our not so magnificent 7.
Yep.
Walking towards the camera, graduating from college. And it took me a second to figure out what was going on, because you hear like this car crash and it slows down / freeze frames, right? I think
kind of, yeah. And then cuts to them
at the
walking
hospital.
in the hospital. It was that was something.
I literally have here, okay, this movie turned into a PBS special real quick. Don't drink and drive, kids. That's a good lesson to be taught here.
Yeah, it very much felt like that sound effect in particular was very much like a Dare movie.
Oh, it's bad. Kind
of, look at you, happy, shiny, enjoying your life, and then yep.
That's the movie. Roll credits. You're done.
I will admit that, having not seen this since I was in middle school, that car crash ends up being really like nothing.
Right. So
they make it sound like such a big deal. Like literally sounds bad.
It sounds bad, yeah.
And everyone's just
let's get serious for a second here.
Okay.
Rob Lowe's character Billy. Mm-hmm. He's the party animal. He's a musician. Yep. He's the 19-year-old. He is drunk. We don't see any of this. We just see them leaving college and the car crashes and cut to the hospital. So like we're jumping 4 years, right?
No. Only 4 months.
Only 4 months.
They just graduated.
That's right, because Kirby is not a lawyer. He's studying pre-law. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. No, he was pre-law. He's in law school now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a little confused with the time because I'm like, how old are these kids? Are they kids?
Look, they got jobs so fast. It doesn't compute.
Right, exactly. 80s jobs. It happens.
We were born in the wrong time. Yeah. Everyone gets a job.
And a house.
It's amazing.
So anyway, Billy's drunk, gets into a car crash. Luckily for him, it's one of his besties, Wendy.
Yeah.
No one's actually really hurt, just the car, so that's good.
Right.
All the other friends are in the hospital looking for Wendy, and then they're kind of giving her a little bit of grief because she's just like kind of blowing this accident off. And yes, Billy is their friend. All of their friends, it's a group of friends. But they're like, yeah, but he's like reckless and he was drunk driving. And I will say, to credit the filmmakers, like they don't make it seem like nothing. Billy does, and Wendy kind of like lets him go. But like Judd Nelson's character, he's like, this is serious business, man. Blah 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 blah. And he even gets arrested for it. So kudos.
Yes. Right.
But he gets arrested from the back of the ambulance while he's playing his saxophone.
Yes, he's playing his saxophone, and then he asks, like a nurse or a paramedic if she believes in premarital sax.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. By the way, forgot that his instrument is a saxophone, and I find this very funny. No offense to people who, I don't know, play horns. I don't know.
Listen, playing saxophone is great. Lisa Simpson. Great.
True.
I never seen this movie, and so when I saw him playing the saxophone, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Why does he have a... And I just thought maybe he was drunk and found it, because I have no idea. There's no context. There's no context.
It's not.
And this is his instrument of choice. He plays in a band. He wants to be a famous saxophonist.
Yes. There. Yep.
And so second thought after that was, why is saxophone so popular in 80s? Because we haven't talked about the Lost Boys yet, at least not formally, but there's a magnificent scene where they go to a concert and they have another shirtless, mind you, shirtless kind of buff man playing a saxophone, being all sweaty. What is about the saxophone I am missing in 1985?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I still can't get over the tone here. Like we said, it sounds so serious at first. Even Jules, our introduction to her character, she's running and saying they're dead, aren't they? And everyone's panicked, rightfully so, right? Because you just heard your friend's got in a car accident. Sounds bad. And they also say the car is totaled. And then it's just like nothing. And then they just all, like you said, Billy gets arrested. So at least there's that. But then they just all go to the bar about it.
Yeah. Well, even like the line when Billy gets put into the back of the car, he's like, "What are you arrested for? Drunk driving." Well, I was definitely drinking. Like,
yep.
I'm like, okay. First, it's like, whoa, way too much of a PBS special. I'm like, okay, cool. We're making a point about not driving while you're hammered, and then like, oh, but we're not really. Maybe we're not. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I also wanted to point out there's a line where. Well, Wendy goes to, I don't know, sign out and pay the bill. I think it might be Jules says, he almost killed you, destroys your car, and you're paying. And it just sounds so dystopian. Like, I know now we live in a time where there's more conversation about our healthcare system and whatnot, but it just, watching it now, there was that extra layer of like, you almost died, here's your bill.
Yeah, right. Like, who pays right away? But also, they're just really setting up all these characters quickly. Billy is no responsibilities. He can't take any care or action for himself or others. Where we see Wendy is the exact opposite, and everyone else kind of falls in the middle between the 1 and 7 there in that example.
This is also where we're introduced to Andy McDowell's character, because Emilio Estevez, Kerbo, to his friends.
I never once heard anyone call him Kerbo, and then he's the first name because it's alphabetical order and the end credits, and I'm like, who the fuck is Kerbo? What kind of name is Kerbo?
I heard them calling him Kerbo.
Maybe once. I don't know. I kept calling Kirby. But maybe I just blocked out the Kerbo part because it's stupid.
Stupid. Well, Andy McDowell's character is named... Do it.
Dale Biederman. I'm going to jump all the way to the end of this script for my notes. I had no idea who the fuck Dale Biederman is until I read the credits.
Okay, how did you not know, though? They call her Dale.
I don't. Every time Kerbo is looking for Dale, there is her. I'm assuming her love interest with her, and like Kerbo gets more aggressive. I guess the best way to put that. And like I feel like he wants to fight Dale. Like the way he's calling her house. Is Dale Biederman there? And I'm like, why don't you just ask for Andy McDowell? Like in my notes I kept saying the woman he's in love with, Andy McDowell, the nurse. I had no idea her name. I thought she was not supposed to have a name like this. Like maybe she wasn't even real. I don't know. This fucking movie. Oh my God.
I believe you went this whole movie thinking she had no name.
I just thought I didn't hear it the first time, and then like as he is being more obsessed with her and like calling the hospital, and like she's like on a date with some other guy, I feel like he's like a classic '80s movie stereotype where he's like gonna go after the guy that his quote unquote girl is seeing and like show him what's what. Like I'm studying law. I know guys in politics. Get out of here, Dale Biederman.
It's funny too because that's not what happened, but what happens is still like ridiculous and awful.
I also want to put out that I'm saying it wrong. I kept hearing Biederman. It's Bieberman. It's Biber man. I heard Biederman.
I kept hearing it wrong too.
I'm 5 minutes into this movie and I'm lost. Apparently. St. Elmo's fire.
Are we ever gonna get through this?
Join us next week. We're still talking about St. Elmo's fire, kids. I'm sorry, Rachel.
It's okay. I just think it's funny that like every episode this season, I've completely like cried off my makeup from laughing so hard.
That's why I don't bother putting mine on.
All right. Anyway,
on a serious note, yeah. So we see everybody real quick, and I know because of this season, we had just watched Breakfast Club a few weeks back, and we just talked about it. But in real life, 1985, these movies came out a few months apart. What, February and June, something like that?
Yeah.
So it's, to me, even as a viewer, if I put myself in the shoes of that like audience in that year, like it's so weird to see high school kids now post grads. And say like it's just like my mind's like, oh, what the hell? It's a fast growing up they all had.
Yeah, especially Judd Nelson.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out too, at this, going back to the Andy McDowell scene, you didn't understand what her name was. I was convinced that Kirby worked at Big Boy.
Yeah.
Because he has his work outfit on. Yeah. Right, he has his work outfit on, and it's like red suspenders and a red and white checkered apron. He does work at the St. Elmo bar, but yes. And they they go to great lengths too to make Andy McDowell's character look like this amazing superhero doctor. It's so much. They shoot her from below, picking up a young kid and doing heroic doctor things. It's very silly.
Just like haloed and light.
Yes. Kirby is completely in love with her. I did not understand that they had already been on a date at like one point in college.
Well, I think nobody does. They talk about that later.
Oh, okay.
Like Kirby reminds Kevin, which is the way to tell the audience. That's why he loves her. Okay.
But like, she was 4 years ahead of him, or 3 years ahead of him. She was a senior when he was a freshman. They went on one date, and he just has been in love with her ever since. Obviously, that date didn't go anywhere.
Right.
No, I was just going to say, I should have seen all this coming with the way Kirby's character ends up.
Yeah. Also was taken aback that it's 1985 and they are still allowed to smoke in hospitals.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Where we are in 1985. Neither of us has actually been born yet, right?
Mm-mm. Nope.
Nope. Okay. They're all at St. Elmo at the bar. This is where I kind of suddenly realized that Jules was Demi Moore because her baby face and blonde hair were throwing me off.
Yeah, same. She had to like talk a little bit. I'm like, oh, there's the voice. I hear it.
Yes. I cannot get over how bad Ali Sheedy's hair is in this movie.
Oh my god.
And I
Like,
was thinking Wendy as well, but really Ali Sheedy's hair.
yeah, like her whole everything. Does Alec really want to be a politician so much he's either attracted to or makes his girlfriend dress like Barbara Bush?
Yeah.
Like, nothing
Yeah.
flattering about anything she's doing.
No, because it's this horrible, like, it's a really short haircut with heavy bangs. And not even bangs like what Wendy has. It's like Ali Sheedy's hair looks like all one, like, blob.
Bang.
Yeah.
One bang. It's one bang.
Yes.
All the way around.
And to your point, she's dressing much older than her age, really stuffy outfits, like collars really high up her neck. It's a lot. I think this is also when Alec, Judd Nelson's character, sees someone they're going to go talk to, and it's someone who, some politician or works for a politician that could be helpful in his career, and he tells Leslie to that he wants her to meet him as well and to be impressive.
Yeah.
So she is very much like his arm candy or whatever to his, climbing up on his career. Looking like Barbara Bush. It is funny, though, having just watched The Breakfast Club, to see, like, these two together. Like, Allison and Bender got together.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
grew up. They
Yeah.
like totally changed their lifestyle.
Yeah, they totally grew up, became Republicans, got horrible haircuts.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So at this point in the movie, I thought Billy and Wendy were a couple, but now I'm still not. We'll get to it as we move along, but like, they're sort of, but not. I thought they were a couple at this point. I thought they were like an exclusive couple. And then we see Billy hitting on some other woman at the bar with his sacks in his back pockets. And then like Jules and Wendy are discussing Wendy's weight in the bathroom, and just a lot's happening. And then all of a sudden we get this throwaway line that Billy is a father.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's said so casually that I'm like, did I hear that right? Or is this like a joke? Like,
Yeah, because they pull him in the bathroom and they're like yelling at him and telling him, like, because Alec, the father figure in the group, he keeps like handing out jobs like Pez candy to Billy.
yeah.
Like, Billy's had like 15 jobs in a 2-hour movie. Most of them come from Alec somehow. And, he's yelling at him to be responsible. You're a father, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you go, what now?
Yeah.
This guy has a saxophone and a driving with alcohol problem. And
Yes.
I didn't think... That's his baby. I didn't think Billy and Wendy were a couple at this point, but I definitely saw kind of the stares on Wendy's side. I'm like, that's why she forgave him. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously into him. She's obviously insecure. I understand it from Wendy's side. But adding to my confusion, when Billy uses the payphone to call someone to yell about how he was in jail, and then he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I woke up the baby. I had no idea what was happening.
Right.
What is actually happening is that he is calling his wife,
Mm-hmm.
and he woke up their baby.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, I was like, who is he calling? Like, his parents? Do they have a young child at home? Like, I was so confused.
Yeah, because then even Kevin's over there, and he hands off the phone to Kevin, and he's like stuck talking to Billy's wife, which I just thought it was someone else they knew, because Alec and Leslie are off talking to another character we don't need to know or care about, and everyone's like mingling. This is a very happening bar. These are where they went to school and drank for 4 years, so like they know a bunch of people, and as their careers, or in Billy's case, lack thereof,
Yes.
are on the rise. They're, I don't know, mingling and making connections. And I just thought this phone call was, he had to apologize to somebody. I didn't realize it was his wife.
Right. Yeah.
It was clearly not a part of their friend group because she's like just there. She's just a plot point for Billy, I guess.
I guess. Like, he could have very much just been an immature man-child without a wife and a kid.
Right. And that's, I think, also got confused how far after college this was because did he graduate and get married right away? Have a baby right away? Or obviously they must have been pregnant.
Like senior year of college at least.
Right.
Yeah. I was so confused. Even having seen this before, obviously I forgot about that part. Also, Kevin, he complains a lot about relationships and marriage and whatever. And at this point, I was like, is Kevin an incel? Because he's just rambling about divorce and alimony. And it makes more sense later, but he just comes off as like a dick right now.
He didn't bother me too much. I mean, all the characters are amplified in this movie. So
Sure, yeah.
I'm like, yes, he's really driving that home, but I'm more concerned about Billy's saxophone problem.
His saxophone problem.
There's a lot of sax in this damn movie.
There is. There is. And also, Wendy's constantly just wandering around saying, "You're so talented, Billy."
I want to also paint Billy. If you've never seen this movie and you don't know what Rob Lowe looks like, he comes off as a like rock star type. He's got like
Yes.
the George Michael cross dangly earring.
I was just going to say he looks like George Michael with the long hair and the earring.
Textured hair, the clothes. Like he's the front man of a band. He maybe plays lead guitar, maybe even drums. No,
I mean, I wouldn't have guessed sax, but
I need to go down the rabbit hole of 80s sax and see what the fuck is up with it.
how many times can we say sax in this episode?
I think it's like already lost meaning to me.
I know.
So at one point they all like get Billy another job and they get picked up in a Jeep. I think Jules is driving and all 7 of them cram into this Jeep. And first of all, I'm like, listen, you just got into a drunk accident and now we're breaking other vehicle violations. And they're just like, oh, let's go to St. Elmo's, blah, blah, blah. And it's a aerial shot. And it's like really threw me off for a second because someone, I think it's supposed to be Jules, they say something about like, oh, let's go, Bloody Marys are on me the first round or something like that. I think someone messed up a line and they had to voice dub it. Quality was different. I couldn't tell who the actor was. I don't know if it was one of these 7 people. And it's a weird thing to like bring up in the podcast, but it like really threw me off of the movie for a second.
Yeah, I could see that because like you said, it was a wide shot. You can't really tell who's talking and it did sound a little odd, but I guessed it was Jules. But also, I think I was more struck by like, woohoo, let's go party and throw back some Bloody Marys specifically. So there's that. But this is also when they start to complain about Alec working for a Republican congressman or potential congressman. But the big thing is that Alec was like the president of the college Democrats for 3 years, I believe they said. And then he switches to Republican because there's more money in it.
Yeah.
Which, that's still true. But this becomes a really big deal that they can't believe he's a Republican, which I guess I'm trying to also place this in terms of 1985 America, where Reagan had swept 49 of the 50 states, you know?
Right.
Is it because they're young? Like,
I'm going to say it's a young thing. They're really hammering that home. They're young.
Yes, they really hammer it home.
They're not really like the rebellious type, though. They're not what I would think of. I feel like most of them, with the exception of maybe Billy and Wendy on their actions and career choices, I feel like a lot of them could, maybe Kevin, could be like the way they look, these yuppies look. I think of that term, and I think of like young Republicans, I guess, from at least for like the 80s movies, like in this realm we're living in.
Yeah, I get that too. Their concern is one, that he switched, but also, yeah, they're really ragging on him about being a Republican now because one of the girls says to Leslie, like, oh my God, how do you feel about dating a Republican?
Right.
So,
And it's weird because, jokes aside, but they don't talk about anything as far
like,
as
really,
Republicans and
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, so who cares? I think it's just maybe he's working for one, and then maybe they're just teasing him about that because it's like the one niche in his armor, I guess. Like he's done everything right, and he's got this great career, and he had to switch sides to advance it. I think might be the thing is the underlying joke that they're kind of ribbing him for.
That's what I took away from it more so than anything. Like he's not being true to himself or whatever, just for money. But I also wonder too, because Wendy's character works at the welfare office.
Right.
It looks like, and at some point we also see her in a soup kitchen. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's something there with her politics. Because when I think of Reagan, I think of him always yammering on about welfare queens. So I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's never explicitly said. So who knows?
Right.
We just all make fun of Alec for being a Republican. We don't know why. So after this, we get to see Jules's apartment.
Ugh.
Have we already seen Alec and Leslie's apartment at this point?
I
I feel
think
like
so, or like
okay.
parts of it.
So let's just paint this picture really quick because Alec and Leslie live in this like bizarre, it's so 80s and it has this like block glass tile. It's awful.
Yeah.
And all I can
Very
think of,
big and open though.
it is big and open. I will give them that. But it's so yuppie in like a different way than Jules's.
Jules is unpretty in pink. That's all I'm gonna say.
Jules's apartment is so pink. She hired her neighbor to be a professional decorator, it sounded like. She has a painting of Bowie on the wall.
Should have put a quote next to it.
I know. But like he lights up. Parts of the painting light up.
Like his hair or whatever.
He has hair and like his earring. So Kevin is entering her apartment with her and he's looking around, says very subtle. And she has a line about why do you think God invented credit in terms of how can she afford all this?
Right.
Joel Schumacher had said that he wanted their apartments to look like glamorous movie star type homes because he felt like teen movies always had lower production value and he felt like even teens should be able to watch like these aspirational like movies with aspirational homes and clothes and whatnot. But then he also said that Reaganomics and the yuppification of the time, where people were so willing to go into debt to have an image, contributed to this as well, which
Okay.
I have a easier time believing like that part.
You know, it makes sense to me too because some of these people are concerned with image, whether it's just for themselves or their job. And then you see Kevin and Kirby live together and they have it's still kind of spacious apartment, but it's definitely like a bachelor pad. It's
Yeah.
small. I think Kevin's room is like a closet. He has this little like
Yeah.
blue door he goes
Yeah.
behind. But like he is a writer for a newspaper. He's trying to like get his foot in the door and become a bigger writer. And Kirby, who is going to law school, is a waiter at the bar they drink at. So like their pool of money is much smaller than these other people, whether they're using credit or they have a nice political job.
Well, and we also find out that Jules is advanced 2 months on her salary.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you could do that.
I don't think you can anymore.
Yeah, I don't think you can anymore either. Because there's a scene where they're literally handing out paychecks and she's like, oh, thank God it's payday. And they're like, you're already advanced 2 months. I don't have a
Yeah.
check for you. There's also this introduction of Kevin maybe being gay because he's never interested in dating and he hasn't slept with a woman in a really long time. And everyone's conclusion is just Kevin's gay. So Jules tries to set him up with her gay neighbor who also did her decorating.
I mean, at first I thought it was a little force fed, but Jules, she says like, "Oh no, it's the '80s. she said something about like the negative impact of the 70s. She didn't word it that way, but she's like kind of saying, hey, like it's okay. I'm like, okay, this is going a little bit differently than I thought, and I was like liking it because at first it's like, oh, Kevin's gay, Kevin's gay. Oh, I'm like, well, it's the 80s, so here we go. And then
Yeah.
Jules kind of like stands up for her friend in a way, like just be honest. And he's like, well, I am. I'm not gay. I just love sucks, and he leaves.
Yeah.
He's
Poor
clearly
Kevin.
heartbroken.
I didn't even get it as heartbroken yet, but like, yes, you're right. Spoiler alert, he is in love with Leslie.
Yeah.
So,
Although, because people start thinking he's gay, a lot of them think that he's in love with Alec.
yeah, it's funny.
I was like, no, he doesn't like Alec that much.
I do feel like there's an argument that Alec and Leslie have the same haircut, though. She has
No, Alec
more
is-
bang than
Yeah. Okay.
her single
is-
solid bang.
She is bang.
It's bang. Okay. So Kirby convinces Dale, her name is Dale, to
Like the
go
race car driver.
to go on a lunch date with him at this super fancy restaurant. And I did think it was kind of cute that he was calling Jules to get like tips on how to pick out a wine and stuff. Also, she tells him to smell the cork.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. I don't think I've ever seen anyone smell the cork.
Did you go to that really fancy restaurant?
No.
Like
That's
but
what it
again,
is.
Another good example of like living outside of your means and image, because he goes to an
Yeah.
expensive restaurant
To impress her, yeah.
to impress her. He is there early, he has a reservation, and he demands a table that is for four. He said, I'll pay double. When he's
Yeah.
on the phone with Jules, he's like, well, what wines should I get? And she basically tells him the most expensive ones that'll
Yes.
impress her. It's funny, 'cause when she gets there, he's like, I'm gonna have this. She's like, have you been here before? Have you been here long?
Yeah.
Like, it was so weird.
But then he says it's a quote from Annie Hall, maybe? Some Woody Allen movie.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And they're really into Woody Allen. And I don't know, that's like a thing. Like he's really big at this time? I don't know.
Yuppies.
Yeah, yuppies. But then he says something like, remember when we went out the first time we saw a Woody Allen movie? And she's like, oh, I thought it was Mel Brooks. So this is when we realize they have been out on at least one date before,
Yeah.
years ago. Looking back, though, at where this storyline ends up, why did she even agree to go to dinner or go to lunch with him when she has a boyfriend? Or does she
I feel like
maybe he's not
she-
a serious boyfriend yet? I don't know, but
we don't see who I thought was Dale until later. But we don't see a lot of the, lack of a better term, behind the scenes when it comes to this date. Like, he saw her at the hospital, he called her at the hospital, and then they're there at the date.
yeah.
And I don't know what the pretense was. Like, hey, let's catch up. Or, I mean, I don't know if you're going to say, hey, let's go catch up at the fanciest restaurant.
That's
What I
true. It
thought
could have
was
been
weird-
like a catch up.
Yeah. And what I thought was weird is that she takes a phone call
Yeah.
from the restaurant. They like bring her like this
The phone, yeah.
this crazy looking phone that only a rich restaurant would have in 1985. And her boss calls and she's like, I'll be right there, Doctor Whatever, and like leaves. And like, how
Yeah.
the fuck does that happen?
I mean, she was on call.
I guess, but she also wasn't at work. So like, how do you, or at home? So like, did she tell the doctor I'm going to the restaurant? I guess
Maybe if you're on call, you have to. But also,
don't know.
isn't that the phone that they brought out for Kirby to call Jules to ask about the wine?
Oh, probably, yeah.
Yeah. See, I remember it looking like clunky and old
Yeah,
when
it was-
Kirby
yeah,
was
but,
using
like,
it.
It was clunky and old and like,
Okay,
golden
okay.
and
Oh,
gaudy.
yeah.
They're at a nice restaurant, and it is a great example of how different it would be if they had cell phones.
Yes, absolutely. I have another note about maybe Kevin isn't an incel. Maybe he's just a really negative person.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
this
more
is
what I got.
He and Leslie were cooking together, and this is so awkward because Alec comes home, he had bought lingerie for Leslie, and he had already said in an earlier scene, like, I'm gonna buy you some like pretty red lingerie. He buys it for her, comes home with it, tells her about it in front of their friend, and then is like, go try it on while our friend is here. And then Kevin is just left alone cooking this dinner in their kitchen.
Yeah.
So, like,
Fucking weird.
it is weird. I understand Kevin is in love with Leslie, so that's part of why this, like, sucks for him, but it's weird anyway.
It's just weird.
And this is also when we find out that Alec has been cheating on Leslie.
Yes.
Because he tells Kevin that he slept with the woman who worked at the lingerie store.
We'll see it later. It's not really, I'm not justifying Alec here, but he justifies it as, well, we're not married yet, and if she would marry me, this wouldn't happen.
Yeah, which is
like,
weird.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely not following his reasoning there. I don't think anyone is, to be fair, though.
No, I'm just saying he's making it better for himself.
Making it, yeah. Mm-hmm. So then we cut to Jules. I feel like Jules just cozies up to rich men in her free time.
Well, she has debt to pay, I guess.
And yeah, she's hanging out with some sheiks, apparently.
Yeah, so she calls House of Alec and Leslie.
Yeah.
It is also noted that Leslie and Jules were roommates in college. So, like,
yes.
they're really close. But anyway, she calls and talks to Alec for help because she did a bunch of drugs and she's, in her words, like, hanging out with these Arab guys, and I didn't understand what they were saying, but something about a gangbang, and can you come help me? I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
So he gets there and he, like, pounds down the door, and they're much older looking and dressed different gentlemen than I expected based on her description. They, like, look like sheiks. They look like I think they're just watching boxing or something on TV. I don't even know.
Yeah, they were just, like, hanging out.
Yeah, and she's just, like, floating around just in this giant penthouse.
Yes. Doing coke.
Very weird. This all could have been just fabricated to get her out of there, even though it seemed like she could have just left.
I know. It very much seemed like she could have just walked on out that door, but Alec needs to be the dad. So, This next scene, Wendy brings Billy home to meet her family. Again, here I am thinking they're, like, really dating because she's bringing him to this, like, kind of formal dinner with her family. But then before he gets there, she tells her sister or her sister-in-law that he's not her boyfriend. Right. And don't call him that. So.
Yeah. I get it with this, like, it's a friend group and they've been close. We don't know how many years. And two of them pair up. So a lot of people are like, oh, who's going to be the other? And obviously Billy's the odd man out because he's got a outside of the friend wife. Yeah. I guess. Which I guess you would think this other person in this conversation would know that he's married and has a kid. So that doesn't make sense. So never mind. I don't know.
Yeah, I was so confused about their relationship and about, like, okay, we learn in this scene that Wendy is very straight-laced. Her family's really, their expectations on her are very direct, and, like, they want her to get married. They want her to settle down. They don't expect her to work, and she wants a different kind of life. And I can understand someone like Wendy being attracted to this free spirit like Billy, right?
Free spirit.
Well, yeah. You know, him and his sax.
Yeah.
I could understand the appeal. I do not understand how she is, like, in my reading of it, actively trying to get with him when he is literally married with a child he never sees.
See, I read that differently. I didn't see her actively trying to get with Billy. I saw her as actively trying to repress feelings for Billy. I mean, I don't know where I have it in my notes, but not too far from here. But as the movie's panning out, I'm like, all right, I'm finally going to say what I think is happening, because Wendy loves Billy, Kevin loves Leslie. Like, if it's not already obvious by these two scenes, because when going back to the other scene, Kevin's cooking everyone's meal, like, he just gives her a look for a second. It's like, that's why he hasn't been with a woman. Okay, yeah. Cool. At this dinner party, Wendy is Billy's caretaker because she can't not be. Well, first of all, it's just her personality. She does charity work. She has these jobs that her family doesn't think she needs to have at all, let alone they are probably beneath her in her parents' eyes.
Yeah.
It doesn't come straight across, but I feel like her parents are old money and Jewish, because some of the things they say about like relationships, so like maybe leaning towards Orthodox, is like later she mentions, I don't like this other boy, and he's like, well, you can learn to love, you need to have a family and have kids, and that's part of the deal. So
yeah, I do really like this scene though. Wendy warns Billy as they sit down to dinner that her mom whispers certain words that she like can't really say out loud. Like she starts talking about someone they know who has cancer, and she whispers the word cancer.
yeah.
And then someone asks, I think she asked Billy where they met or how they met.
It's like, yeah, where'd you guys meet? And he's like, oh yeah, we met in prison.
That was great. And then this leads to Billy climbing up on the roof, and the whole family is horrified because some little kid realizes, and he's like, Billy's on the roof. And it's really just one of those things where they have a window upstairs where you can access the roof. I feel like this is such a teen movie thing, like we're just gonna go sit up on the roof, right?
Yeah, he's just chilling.
Wendy thinks it's amazing. She's like, no one in my family has ever done this.
Right.
In that moment, for me, I was like, okay, we see some of what attracts her so much to Billy. Billy keeps saying that things are out of hand. Like, college was out of hand. I don't know, hanging out with you is out of hand. So this is like his catchphrase to say, like, that's crazy or whatever. Originally, this line was just going to be, this is awesome. So Billy was just constantly going to say that things were awesome.
This is awesome. My saxophone's awesome.
I don't think out of hand is great, but I think awesome would have been worse.
Yeah, it would have been worse.
Just for him to constantly say it. So this leads to somehow Wendy confessing to Billy that she's a virgin. And Billy's like shocked, but in my opinion, also kind of making fun of her a little bit. And
did she confess that? I thought the whole time she was very vague on the matter. Like,
no, because he said, like, you really never slept with any of those guys you went out with in college? And she's like, no. And he's like, not even like this guy? And she's like, would you have slept with that guy? And they laugh about it.
I do remember that part. I wasn't sure. I guess maybe she's just being honest, because I don't know why these people have to talk about this kind of stuff. Like,
yeah,
who cares?
Right. I don't remember how it got brought up, but yeah, somehow it is known that, and he learns it in this scene, that she is a virgin. And you see them kind of start to fool around, and then he makes fun of her underwear or her girdle.
Yeah.
And we know that Wendy is insecure about her weight. She is embarrassed. She goes upstairs and says, I don't think we should see each other anymore. There's your rent money. And gives him money. He leaves the house. Again, completely confused about their relationship.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I guess, complicated because they're friends and she has feelings for him. He just, I don't know, likes to flirt and sleep with women, I guess, besides his wife.
Yes.
And that scene was weird, but then when she gets upset, he does have a funny line where he's like, oh yeah, because sex can't be fun.
Just a little fun fact about this scene. Wendy's parents are played by Martin Balsam and Joyce Van Patten, who were real life ex-spouses at this point. Yeah, so they had been married. They had been divorced for a while at the time that they were both cast as her parents. Both of them really accomplished actors in their own right. Martin Balsam was in Psycho, All the President's Men, 12 Angry Men. I did not realize. Joyce Van Patten was more TV movies and probably any popular TV show from like the 70s to now. She's probably been in an episode of. Like, she was just always working in TV. Okay. Their daughter is Talia Balsam, who played Mona Sterling on Mad Men. And she's married to Roger Sterling in real life.
Oh.
But yes, this brings us to the Halloween party at St. Elmo, where Billy does his long sax solo. It's really into it.
He's into it. He is And he's the star of the show, man. Like, people
Yep.
are cheering for him. He's shirtless and sweaty and, like, kissing people. And
Yeah, people love a saxophone. I don't know, man.
I don't
Uh,
know, man.
this band that's playing is Mayor Winningham's brother's band in real
Oh,
life.
nice.
Yeah. But yes, band is apparently just kind of background for Billy and his sax.
Yeah.
And Wendy brings a date. I wrote that her date looks like Harry Potter.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah.
He has like a what to me looks like a private school jacket, and like he has the glasses and like
He kind of looks like Harry Potter and Peter Griffin, like, mashed together.
yeah, okay. I can see.
Yeah,
Shut up. The outfit's Harry Potter. He himself looks like Peter Griffin.
there we go.
Yep. So we've had all these little hints about Billy, having a wife. This is when it becomes crystal clear that he does have a wife. And I was like, what? His wife? So, like, I'm still confused at this point. But she comes in with a date and sits, like, front and center,
Mm-hmm.
like, making out with her date so that Billy will see her from the stage, which he does.
Yes.
Ends up fighting her date because he starts yelling, "Get your hands off my wife," who he apparently does not give a shit about at any other time.
No.
They end up like brawling on the street, and he starts yelling about how he should have been neutered at birth so he could never have a kid because now he's stuck with this woman.
I wasn't even sure what his rant was about because he was probably drunk, but he was
Yes.
talking about, like, being neutered and not having girls because girls they lead to this other it was just a rant, and I was like, whatever, Billy, just you're getting your own medicine, so fuck you.
Yes. Yep.
After they separate the boys from fighting,
Uh-huh.
then Billy and Billy's wife, which I don't know her name,
I think it's Felicia.
well, then they start fighting. He's like, well, bye, Felicia. And she, I think, slaps him when they separate him. Then they're like yelling at each other across the street, but we love each other. It was very comical to me. I don't know if it's supposed to be
Yes.
serious or not, but I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, they go from fighting to being like, "I'll change, I promise, I love you."
Yeah.
One of those very soap opera, like, the passion is so strong that you hate each other and then you love each other. And this is all I could think of when I read the quote from Joel Schumacher about Billy being like such an emotionally layered character and he didn't know if Rob Lowe could handle it. Sure, we could call it that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think they're just really immature.
Yeah, which is why a 19-year-old could play him.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. So Kevin starts to get lonely and gets sadder, and he like walks around the neighborhood, the maybe not the best parts of the neighborhood, by himself.
Mm-hmm.
I think he sometimes is like drinking out of a flask or something. He doesn't look sober, and he
Right.
keeps running into. And it seems like the first time it just happens, but then I feel like he is running into her on purpose. This prostitute on the street named Naomi.
Mm-hmm.
And it was bothering me because she looked and sounded really familiar. Like, I know her in something. And so thinking, it's the 80s. Is it one of the Cosby shows? This and that. She was in the Friday movies. And I was like, yes, I see it now. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't clock that.
Yeah, it just, her voice is very distinct.
I'm kind of curious why she's like, is she just here to give us some more insight into Kevin's character? Because, they discuss relationships and whatnot, and she's always kind of surprised that he doesn't want to pay her to spend the night with him. And he says something, or she says something to him at some point about like, yeah, but even if you're in a relationship, you're still going to need me, or like, even if you get married, whatever. And I don't know if it's just supposed to like sink Kevin further into his anti-women, anti-relationship feelings or what, because I don't feel like anything really comes of this.
No, they like run into each other 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time she asks if he's gay, I feel like, okay,
Poor
we're doing
Kev.
that again.
Yeah.
And then, like, it goes on and on every time, and At one point, he says he doesn't pay for sex, and she's like, "Well, yeah, you do. If you go on a date and you get married and you buy a car and you buy a house, it's like you're paying for something." I was like,
Oh,
"All right,
that's one way to look at it, I guess.
yeah." Well, she's just trying to get some business.
Yeah.
She's like, "You can pay for all that, or you can just pay for what you're getting here." But yeah, I don't know what else is the point. And then it seems like the more he runs into her, the last time it feels like maybe he is going to take her home. Like, is this going to be like a Pretty Woman situation where he falls in love with her? I don't know, because like he looks like he's enjoying his very brief interaction with her every time.
Sure,
he almost is like playing coy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
then
thought
nothing
it was
happens.
gonna. I agree. I thought it was gonna lead to him hooking up with her because what's her character doing here? Like, yeah, I thought something more was gonna come of this. But after this, we we go to Wendy working at a soup kitchen, and Leslie and Jules are coming to visit her at the soup kitchen under the guise of talking to her about Billy. But then it turns out that Wendy and Leslie have organized this so they could talk to Jules because they're worried about her drug use and the fact that she's now dating her boss, her married boss. So she's having an affair with the bank boss. And they all get a tray and get food. And I just feel like every time I have volunteered in a situation like this, I didn't eat the food that's meant for the people that need the food.
Right, yeah. I was confused by that too.
Okay, thank you. Because they make a joke about like we should go out to lunch, and Wendy's like, "Well, I can't just leave and go eat." And then she's like, "Well, why don't we just eat here? Grab a tray." And I'm like, "Wait, really?"
I mean, I guess you're not really supposed to turn down people. I mean, if anything, Wendy shouldn't be getting food. The other two,
Well, she works there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
like
know.
I doubt if anyone walked in, you're allowed to question, like, you don't look poor enough for this. But yeah, I just thought that whole thing was weird. I know they all had to have a conversation and there had to be somewhere to meet, but
But why?
why? Yes. So we realize that Jules is maybe engaging in some risky behavior because we already know she's like maxed out her credit cards, or we assume this because of the payday advances and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there are payday loan places. I guess that's what it is now instead of getting an advance from your company on your paycheck.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
well,
thinking of I'm thinking of that commercial when we were kids. It's my money and I want it now.
yeah, I know. Okay. Well, glad we answered that question. Anyway, I'm glad that you thought this was weird too, that they were all just having lunch at the shelter. Also, Leslie has like multiple lace collars on her clothing. I don't know what her outfits are.
I feel like at this point I stopped caring.
Just her styling is so unfortunate, like all around.
Right. It's almost as if they're like, hey, remember 4 months ago this girl looked like this? We have to make her look completely different. Yeah, she was styled as if she was her own grandmother.
Yeah. Yep. Like even I hate Wendy's blunt cut with the bangs, but at least like her bangs are separate from the rest of her hair.
Leslie looks like she has Lego hair.
Yes. That's what it is.
Sorry,
Okay.
Ali Sheedy.
Yep, sorry. you, you can get into Kerbo and what he's up to now.
Fucking Kerbo. Kerbo the pervo. He's not really that pervy, but like he's now gone into stalker syndrome. We get an exterior shot of an apartment building or something, and it's pouring rain, and we see a car leave, and then entering the shot is Kerbo on like a 12-year-old's bike. He is tailing Dale on like a Schwinn in the pouring rain.
Yep.
Somehow is able to follow her to the restaurant she's going to. I mean, must not have been too far because again, he's on a bike and she's in a car.
Party.
Oh yeah. They go to a party. You're right. And he's peering in the window, which is how does no one see this man? So that's
It's
first of all.
So bad.
I first thought it was a restaurant because like they are like fancied up in this party and they are sitting down having like crystal dinner.
Yeah, I think it's
Like,
just like a fancy like black tie dinner party.
yeah. And he sees, I think, her with who I thought was Dale, the guy.
Her
And like,
boyfriend, yeah.
I thought that was the end of that. Cut to one of the other 7 miscreants that are doing other shady stuff. So then we get this. We get a POV shot, and we know it's Kerbo almost right away because he's now in the party.
Yeah.
Although I will say almost right away because we get like a guy standing like on a wall. And that's the first thing we see after we see Emilio like staring through the window. And I was like, what is this guy doing? And then the camera's moving.
Yes.
Like, oh, this is a POV shot. And everyone's like turning their head, looking at Kirby because he's obviously not meant to be there. And he is, of course, soaking wet.
Right.
But like we just hear him breathing.
Yeah.
And I just thinking this is the Michael Myers shot for some reason because he is literally like dripping wet. Although we can't see that because we are now Kirby, but he's like slowly walking in, looking at guests, and everyone's like, I mean, we do hear someone in the background, "Sir, you're not supposed to be here, sir, sir." Every once in a while, and he's just like, it's so weird.
It's so
And
serial killer.
From the first trailer I saw months ago, I thought people were just like snap and lose their minds and like they can't handle post college, which how right I was.
Yeah, you're actually not too far off.
But what the hell's going on here? And I still feel like what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, I feel like just that shot of Kirby looking at this party through the window, like he's out in the rain. You only see like his eyes up, like you see just half his face, but the look in his eyes, the rain. If I just showed you a still, I don't think you would ever guess it was from like St. Elmo's Fire or from this type of movie.
Right.
And then I had completely forgotten about this point of view shot with the heavy breathing. I was like, where did we just go? Like, all of this is out of character. Well, maybe not out of character, but out of the tone of the rest of the movie. Not only that, I guess if like older movies have taught me anything, it's that stalking is a term of endearment, apparently. So it's like, look how much he loves her. Not like, oh my God, you psycho.
So what you're saying is Michael Myers just had a lot of crushes.
There you go. That's why he mostly killed women.
He loved them too hard.
Yes. Okay, so not only is this like horrible, stalkerish, scary behavior, Dale like pities him and takes him back to her apartment to like talk him down.
I don't get this relationship at all. I either think Dale is the nicest woman in the world or the dumbest, and maybe both. I can't. It's just, does she know she's egging him on? Is she
right?
Yeah.
And like, why would
worse.
It does get. Oh, it gets worse. Somehow, it's still there is still room for it to get worse. I did think it was funny though when she first brings him back home and she's trying to convince him that she's like nothing special or whatever. Like he has no reason to have a crush on her. She says something like, you know, I'm messy, whatever. My roommate hates me. And her roommate walks in at that point and was like, yeah, she's right. I hate her.
Yeah.
Roommate's like not here for any of this. And Kirby says something. He was already yelling at her about like, oh, is that guy a doctor? She says, I'm starting to get this funny feeling that medicine is all about the money, which like all I could think of was my feeling at the beginning of like, you know, our healthcare system being intertwined with payments and whatnot. But another discussion for another time. Kirby takes this to just be, it's all about the money. You're dating this man because he's probably a doctor with more money than me.
Yeah.
This is
the whole plot point of The Wedding Singer.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was said at the same time.
Mm-hmm. The more we watch movies for this season, from this year, the better The Wedding Singer is as a movie.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, man, they got everything right.
Yeah. But what I found so funny about this exchange is that Dale is kind of waxing philosophic about her choice of career and society and whatnot. And Kirby's like, you're dating that guy because he has money. Like,
Mm-hmm.
all of these people are so immature. Like, it's amazing how much of a difference like 3 years post college makes compared to 4 months, apparently.
Right.
At this point, Billy goes back to campus and visits their old frat house and is like, I'm going to try to get a job on campus because this is where I really belong.
Right.
And it's just,
He's having a rough time growing up.
yes, obviously. I don't know. This was so sad to me. Like, to be fair, this man is 4 months post college. And, like, yes, when I was trying to, like, find a job and figure things out, I was like, you know, it was great when I was in college. It was just like, take these classes and now take these classes. And I just, like, I knew what was ahead of me, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to, like, figure too much out on my own. So I can appreciate it in that sense that now you're in this big scary adult world and there's no like roadmap. But sounds like Billy's more like, I just don't want to work and I want to play football with the frat bros. Meanwhile, he has a whole wife and kid out there.
The funny thing, though, is in this scene when they're having this moment on the field, which, by the way, this only happens in movies. I've never played like backyard rugby or football or they're playing. Been tackled and just like roll over. I'm like, you know what's cool? I got a job here while the play is still happening.
You're so right, though.
Uh huh. But what I noticed is Billy, at first I was like, okay, of course Billy wants to go back and hang out with the frat boys, and he's a legend. And that's what we first see, and then they're playing whatever, and when he's like, I really think I should get a job maybe on campus, and I actually think he was being serious. Like, maybe this is a
Oh,
time he
yeah.
was happiest, but maybe it's something that can work out for him. And he looks like he's excited and genuine, and then the other guy's like, oh, that'd be great, you'd be able to get us the best drugs, and like gets up and runs away. And like, I'm like, I don't think that's what Billy wanted to hear. I think he actually wanted to like maybe give back in a way, in a Billy way, to what made him
In
feel
his
great
own
about
little
himself.
way, yeah.
Yeah, maybe he would like hold it down because he cared so much about it. And
Sure, yeah.
then and that didn't happen. So you're like,
Well,
oof, sorry, Billy, you
but then
party too
we
hard.
but then we cut directly to him talking with his wife, who is with their daughter, like they meet up, and they cut to him meeting up with his wife who has their daughter with her, and he's saying something about how it's going to be different now, he's going to be around and it's going to be great, and maybe it's because he thinks he can finally get a job that he would like and he would stick with because he's talking about working on campus. um but again, I just couldn't help feeling like this stupid man child who just wants to like go back to college. Like, I don't know if I was buying it as sincere. I felt like he just wanted to hang out with his bros again. And I was like, I do not remember being so conflicted about this storyline when I was younger. Like, I think I think I was still almost warming up to the idea that Billy even had a wife and a kid because it was those breadcrumbs were dropped so subtly in the beginning. But I wrote that, like, watching this as a 40-year-old, he bothers me so much because he's so flighty and he's the one with like the most responsibility because he has a kid, and obviously the wife isn't doing, like, she needs his input, right, to raise the kid. And then I wrote, unfortunately, Billy is also the hottest character.
Well, it's Rob Lowe in 1985. Come on.
I mean, it's
Um,
inarguably he is the hottest one in this movie, so except for maybe
Right.
Andy McDowell.
At one point, in one of the many jobs Alec gives Billy, or maybe someone else did, he works for. I don't even know what Mr. Kim does, but
He's mysteriously rich. That's
yes, and he leaves a lot, and he needs someone to take care of his affairs, and basically watch his penthouse when he's not there.
I guess, yeah.
At one point, Billy's doing that, and he is having a girl over in Mr. Kim's hot tub when Mr. Kim comes home. He obviously loses that job.
Right.
I bring that up because now Kirby, who is obsessed with status and money to, get the very attractive Dale to like him.
Yeah. He gets this job for Mr. Kim. He's working for Mr. Kim now.
And it's funny because you kind of see the interview process and he keeps saying, Mr. Kim, I'm your man. And I was like, shut the fuck up, Kirby. Like, I would not. If someone kept saying that in an interview I was conducting, I probably wouldn't hire them. And then in the next scene, obviously Mr. Kim is away on mysterious business again. He's like in the car and he's yelling at the driver, all right, get out and open the door. And she's like, what? I'm like, it's your job, just do it. And he is like feigning that he's got extra money now and he looks important in front of Andy McDowell. And then he throws a party at this house. I was like, what is going on with these people?
But he's just like waiting for her in a parking lot to walk by. So I assume he's at her job because it's somewhere where he knows she's going to be. And then, he uses the driver. I assume it's like Mr. Kim's driver or whatever to look like it's his driver. And he's like, I work for this really important guy now, and I'm going to throw this amazing party at his house. And I feel like if someone came up to me and said this, I would be like, okay, teen rom-com, like, calm down. I'm not coming to this, like, illegal party at your boss's house.
And it's so funny. He comes out of the car, like, dressed for business.
Yes.
And he has his business. Yes, exactly. And he has his business attire and briefcase, but he has a folded paper. And I just thought it's another prop to look very business.
Yes.
But he's like, I work for Mr. Kim now. And then he unfolds the paper and shoves it in her face so she knows who he is. I'm like, oh my God. Like he's on the front page of like the equivalent of the News Herald. Mr. Kim, good at business.
As we're describing all this, maybe Kirby is the worst character.
There's a range, 1 to 7, just because there's 7 of them, and some of them shift like tectonic plates. It just depends on
like tectonic plates.
Yeah, causing earthquakes and ripples in their friendship.
That was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But that's funny, though, because you wrote here, are Kevin and Leslie the only good people in this movie?
At this point, I felt that way. Yeah, so at this big party that Kirby is throwing specifically for Dale to be impressed, spoiler alert, Dale shockingly does not show up. So she made one good decision there.
I still don't understand Kirby's thought process here because it's like, I got this big fancy job. Also, I'm going to screw this guy over by like hosting a party at his mansion that's definitely not mine.
I don't, it doesn't, no sense made.
Yeah, no.
But there's a bunch of people at this party. It's not like the whole like regulars at St. Elmo's are here.
Yes.
And at some point during the party, hold on, let me pause for a second. We haven't mentioned that Alec is really, really pressuring Leslie for marriage. And she's like, I'm not ready yet. I'm trying to do my career. We just moved in, blah, 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 blah. And this keeps like, he's like, will you marry me? Mm-hmm. And then he tells Kevin, I slept with this girl because she's not marrying me. I'm like, okay, well, maybe those things go hand in hand, motherfucker. Like, come on. Again, another man-child like Billy, just differently.
Yeah.
And then at this party, he announces their engagement, which isn't a thing.
Yes.
And they have a fight in the kitchen, and she hints at knowing his secret romances. Mm-hmm. Doesn't really come out and say it, but like you can like tell she knows, or she thinks she might know.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if she really knew or if she was like, you know what, I've had my suspicions. Let's see how he acts when I throw it out there.
I think she was baiting him because then he storms out and attacks Kevin because he assumes Kevin told Leslie.
Yes.
Which, to be fair, you he could have. You put him in a bad position where they're all a friend group, so you're telling
that
one
too.
of your friends you're cheating on one of his friends. So if Kevin told her, I wouldn't blame Kevin. Kevin did not.
Even with Kevin having the crush on her, like even without that, it's like I would feel responsible to tell my friend.
Right.
So
Kevin doesn't tell him because he comes out and attacks Kevin and is like, "Oh, did you tell her? What did you tell her?" Blah blah blah. And then Leslie defends Kevin's like, "He didn't tell me anything. You just did." Womp womp.
And then Alex's response is to say that Leslie has to be out of the apartment.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which we will revisit, but this leads to her going home with Kevin because she has nowhere to stay now.
Yeah. Which part are we going to revisit? Her leaving the apartment or her going to Kevin's?
Going to Kevin's, because we have to get to where Kirby is now at this point, because he's...
Oh, yeah. Kirby is not at the party he's thrown.
Wait, first he's raging because
he's raging.
Dale hasn't showed up. And he calls, like, the hospital to see if she's... working that night. Was she called in for an emergency? You know what? If she was called in for an emergency, do you think these people maybe have better things to do, sir?
Yeah, I do want to point out, when we say he's raging at a party, we don't mean like the fun kind with glow sticks. He's
yelling.
He looks like he got St. Elmo's fire like coming out of his head.
Yes.
He, like you said, calling her job, blah, 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 blah. Somehow finds out. Oh, he goes then to where she's staying?
Well,
and
then he starts yelling. He goes to her apartment and rages at her roommate. Because her roommate's kind of clocking how upset he is. And it's like,
crazy.
What is your problem? And he's basically like, you don't want to mess with me. And like...
Threatening this woman.
Threatening this woman if she doesn't give him the location of her roommate. Which is insane.
And then she does, because then he goes there.
She says she went on a ski trip with her boyfriend. Or,
Dale.
I don't know if... her boyfriend, Dale.
What if they both were named Dale? That would be so awkward.
What if both their names were Dale? I still can't believe you...
I'm sorry, Dale Biederman, and I'm not being sexist here, Dale Biederman is an 80s character male name. I'm sorry. I'd say prove me wrong, this movie did, so, egg on my face.
Okay, no, her character name is awful all around.
Okay, thank you.
I accepted that she was a female character with an awful name and never thought they named her boyfriend, not her.
I don't know why it came. I think because he's always so angry and he's like banging on doors and like I feel like he was trying to beat up this guy. That's what I thought, and it wouldn't be surprising if that's what he was trying to do, given the situation.
Okay, fair.
Dale Bierman, he always says it is a full name, and I just think of like
that is
a
true.
frat guy or something in an 80s flick. Dale Biederman. Not like
it is true that he
beautiful
always
doctor woman.
Yeah, he does constantly use her full name, which that's true.
It would be less confusing. It would be less confusing if he put some respect on that name, Dr. Biederman.
There you go.
Kerbo.
All right.
Where are we?
We are at Kirby driving out to wherever this ski vacation is to bang on the door of her cabin. And he is shocked when he realizes her boyfriend is there with her. So he storms back to his car, only to now find that his car is stuck in the snow. Why is he so shocked that her boyfriend is with her?
Yeah, the whole time he's looking for Dale, he's right there.
Shut up.
That's what this is the scene I was like the most confused. I think the whole time I honestly assumed Dale was McDowell. But then when he's pounding on the door, he's like, Dale Beerman, and the man answers before they cut to his confusion. I'm like, there he is. Like, for a moment, it escaped me, and it just became a running joke this whole time. And after that, I forgot. But yeah, and the funny thing is, he answers the door. He's naked. We don't see, he's like fully wrapped in a blanket. And it's funny because then she opens the door with him, and he's like, oh, we gotta go help him. He's like, the dude's like, I'm naked though. And
no.
This guy.
Like, he just wraps himself up in his blanket and goes.
So this guy, very much like Dale, they are like just, I don't know the word. Can someone be too nice? She doesn't get a clue about Kirby. This guy's banging on your cabin door. You're having a romantic ski weekend with your girlfriend. So like the guy, who I don't know if we get his actual name, he is not in the movie yet.
We do not. Despite what you think, we do not, right. I don't think, get his name.
So, like, he should be mad. Like, at least Dale has this pattern of, like, shrugging it off, so to speak. But her boyfriend, who is literally, like, wrapped in, like, a post-sex blanket, should be like, bro, what are you here for? If I wasn't naked, I'd beat you up.
Yeah, and instead he invites him to stay the night.
Because, yeah, he can't leave.
Because his car is stuck.
Yeah, he's like, you'll die out in the cold. And so then he, like, has a sleepover with this couple.
What's really funny is, like, Dale sets Kirby up on, like, a couch or something out in the living room, and she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to bed, we'll talk in the morning, and he's, like, glaring at her because he knows she's gonna go sleep with her boyfriend, and he's just, Kirby is out of his mind.
He is out of control.
Like, he interrupted this vacation. He shouldn't even know where she is. Like, there's no way he shouldn't have this information. And then he gets his car stuck. He's done all of this shit. And then he's glaring at her as if she's, like, betraying him by going to sleep in bed with her boyfriend, who she was on this trip with to begin with.
And they, like, put his clothes in the dryer. And this part's funny. They, like, give him some clothes to wear. He's like, you want me to wear his pajamas? Also, everyone in this movie says pajamas. I don't like it.
I didn't even notice that.
It must be the yuppie way to say pajamas. Us poor people say pajamas.
So this is where Kirby ends up. Meanwhile, at the party, Wendy and Billy sort of seem like they're making up. And then Billy ruins it by asking about Howie, Wendy's boyfriend, and asks her if she is still a virgin. And she's like, why do you care so much? And leaves. So they're still on the rocks. Also, no news about whether Billy's whole, I'm going to support my wife and kid and get a job has actually panned out yet. He's more concerned about whether Wendy is a virgin still.
So after that happens, which, by the way, the car Kirby took to the ski lodge was Wendy's.
Yep.
Wendy let him borrow the car.
God, Wendy.
So Billy leaves the party. He leaves with Jules. And, like, she takes him home, like, oh, we need to get a drink. Everything's closed. She invites him back to her house. They are literally outside Billy's house right now.
Yeah, sitting in the car outside Billy's house.
And for some reason, Jules is, like, asking why he never made a pass at her before. And then he does. And then, rightfully so, she's like, well, no, I just don't want anything from you tonight. Like, and he gets really creepy and, like, touchy and tries to, like, make her do stuff. And she kicks him out of the car. All in front of his wife and kid.
Well, not only that, he takes her car keys, puts them down his pants, and is like, if you want to leave, come and get them. And they end up kind of struggling, like, on the ground after he falls out of the Jeep. And his wife sees all of this. And then basically after Jules drives away, his wife just turns out the light and locks the door, and he's stuck out there. You know, rightfully so. But Jules, in part of this weird conversation they're having, is trying to say, like, I really need a friend, like, something bad has happened.
Yeah, she's trying to come clean.
Yes, and we don't find out any more of that yet because Billy's an ass. But at some point, Mr. Kim comes home. and finds Wendy and Howie like asleep on his stairs.
Like the next morning. There's a few people still in the apartment, but
Okay, yeah.
they're there because they don't have a car.
Oh, right, of course. This is also when Leslie ends up at Kevin's place because she has nowhere else to go. They point out at some point that he has all this weird decor, and his coffee table is a literal coffin
Yeah.
that I covered with a sheet or something, but he says something like everything in the apartment is to impress women, and maybe he's joking. I hope he's joking.
He's joking because it's kind of sloppy, and it's not like it's not gross. It's not a pig pen, but it's like two dudes live there who don't really live there. They're at the bar or they're at work. I think he's just trying to make really bad jokes just because of the situation that happened. And
Yes,
he's a little nervous that he's got his friend's girlfriend, even though she's also his friend, over after that breakup.
yeah.
And then she finds I thought it was a heart-shaped box. Maybe it wasn't. It was like
I think it was just like a red tin.
Okay. But it was full of pictures of her.
Yep. And they are both very drunk, and he confesses that he's in love with her, and this is why he's never like dating anyone. And what does he say? He's like, "Oh, we're so drunk, we'll forget this tomorrow." And she's like, "Oh, it is tomorrow." And so then they just decide they'll sleep together anyway.
Yeah,
and
I think he was trying to blow it off because he's embarrassed.
Yeah. But when they start making out, did you notice he like shoves everything off the coffin?
Yeah.
And lays her down on the coffin.
Yeah. You gotta do what you gotta do when situation happens. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Because in my notes, I wrote, on the coffin.
You know what? It's better than in the coffin.
Jesus.
Just saying.
So I did find, this is kind of horrible, but Ali Sheedy was so nervous to film these scenes of her with Kevin. She had said that Joel Schumacher handled it really well. However, Andrew McCarthy, who plays Kevin, said that at first when they were filming these scenes, Joel Schumacher would yell, "Okay, you're fucking action."
Jesus Christ, Joel.
And I guess Andrew McCarthy, in his telling of it, he was nude and had to like stand up and yell at Joel Schumacher and be like, "Can you see how nervous she is?" Like apparently she was near tears. She was so scared to film these scenes. And then apparently when they are in the shower and she breaks the door, that was real. That was not planned.
Nice.
And they kept it in, but she said that was my real laugh because I really did push it out, not meaning to. And I said, like, good for her for staying in character because she does call him Kevin in that part. But yes, then we are back to, it's the next morning. Kirby's, I don't know if we really see them talk that much. Dale says something to him about, maybe I'll look back at this and wonder if I let a good guy go or something. And
yeah, just stop trying to be nice. Just like, dude,
yes,
go home, leave me alone. Why?
Yeah, why? Do you know how many times I would have called the police at this point? Like,
yeah, I'd have like personal detail following me around.
For some stupid reason, her boyfriend's like, "I'll go get the camera."
Yeah, what the fuck? Again, maybe he doesn't know the situation. There's no explanation why he's there. He's like, "Oh, well, you can't go, so stay the night, I guess." And then he's like, "Oh, this is funny. I'm going to take a picture. I'll be right back to get my Polaroid." Yeah. What?
While he's gone, they have this little talk. And then Kirby's just kind of like, fuck it. He kisses her. She's too shocked to say anything. And this is when her boyfriend comes back and takes the picture. And I can't get over how dopey Kirby looks when they're taking the picture. Because he puts his arm around her in like a very like uncomfortable, like it looks like it's a very stiff way. And he just has this like stupid smile on his face because he just kissed her. And then he dries off like really proud of himself. And we see this picture develop that Dale is holding, and it's like not the same picture.
So earlier I talked about that like voiceover about the Bloody Marys. It took me out of the movie for a second.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I think I wrote so much about this fucking photo. It drove me crazy.
Yeah.
It's not from the same angle. They're not looking at him. They look right at him, and like, who doesn't look at the camera unless they're told not to, like for your wedding photos or something?
Right.
So they're not looking at the camera.
But they did. They looked at the camera when he took the picture.
Right.
But the resulting picture is like both of them looking off to the side.
It's like they had a
like a crew member
take the photo, and this is what they got because they couldn't trust the guy with no name to take a photo. But it was so clearly wrong.
Yes.
And it was very weird, and I hated it.
Yeah, it was... To me, it was just, like, such a continuity error. Like, how did no one think to fix that? Because it really did look like a crew member snapped it from the side while they were looking at the boyfriend character.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it didn't match up at all. It bothered me.
I was shocked that Kirby gave it to Dale. Like, I thought he would want to keep it with his obsession, but, like, now that he kissed her and... I don't know. I felt like he was like, you know what? We can never be together, I guess, and I'm just gonna like kiss you while your boyfriend's...
Get it out of my system, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
None of this makes sense. Let's be realistic here. I know that we have a scene where Alec finds Leslie with Kevin the next morning. So he realizes they've hooked up. But then we cut to Wendy meeting up with her dad to say that she's going to give back Howie.
Yeah, I put that line down. I loved it.
Yeah, no, that was really funny. Because Howie was an employee of her dad's, I believe. That's...
Yeah, and they were trying to play matchmaker. The parents were.
Yeah. And she says that she's really in love with Billy. And her dad says, Billy from the roof.
Yeah, Billy from the roof.
It's so funny to me because I feel like sneaking out on the roof like that is always played as something you do to get away from the adults or away from the parents. And in this movie, it was like everyone came outside to look at him on the roof.
Very
and it
weird.
was really bizarre. But yes, in this scene, I was like, God, Wendy, like, like, again, I could see why she would have a crush on him. But maybe if he was just the bad boy that you want to have a fling with, but he has a whole ass family that he's ditching constantly. Like, why is this, like, that part should probably be folded into the level of attractiveness here. Like,
right. Keep in mind that we haven't mentioned that after the football scene with Billy and he's talking to his wife, she had mentioned the guy she was with before Billy came by the house and was like, well, if you still want to, we can get married. Yeah. And that's when Billy's like, oh, I'll change. So that's also weird. Like, hey, remember we used to date, but you're married with a kid now? If you still want to, we can still get married, and I'll take care of it. I mean,
yeah.
It would be different if, like, they still had a relationship, but the way she at least made it seem was like he just kind of swung by randomly and said, hey, I still want to marry you. I don't know. Nothing makes sense.
Well, I guess if nothing else, it plays into the idea that Billy only wants her ever when another guy enters the picture.
Right.
And is like, quote unquote, like encroaching on his space. But yes, and this leads us to Leslie stopping by her apartment. She had said something like she purposefully came by then to get her things because she thought Alec would be at work. He called off sick. He looks completely destroyed, like very stereotypical breakup outfit, like he's in his PJs and his robe and whatever.
His pajamas.
His pajamas. There's this exchange they have where Alec is mad because she slept with Kevin, right? And he yells, you fucked Kevin, and she yells, you fucked many. And I'm sure they really thought they were doing something with this line, but it's kind of cheesy. And then he says, nameless, faceless many. Which makes it okay.
Right. Well, you know, she obviously tells him it's not okay. She says something like, well, that made me feel special.
Yep.
And I thought that line actually kind of hit. Where she kind of like gives it back to him. Because you're like, oh, it just happened to hurt your feelings because you know the guy.
That's true.
Yeah. in the scene earlier, and Alec comes like, I think like he's apologizing to Kevin. And this is the morning after he hooked up with Leslie, and so he kind of like scampers out. He's like, "Oh, I got a guest. Like, can you please leave?" And as he's almost leaving, Leslie decides to come out and reveal that she is not some random girl from the party.
Yes.
And this is the only time her hair didn't look stupid.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, I'm like, oh, now you look like Ali Sheedy. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, she took it upon herself to, like, do the reveal.
That's true, yes. I mean, I took that as, like, fuck it, she's done with this guy.
Exactly. It was like she took the power.
Yeah. I did like, though, at the end of this scene of the two of them at their apartment, like, they're arguing over which records to take, and it's very funny in terms of, like, what was popular at the time, and you can tell that he's very much like, you can take all the chick music.
Yeah.
You know. When she finally leaves the scene, he sits down and he just yells, "Wasted love." Which...
Judd is very good at yelling.
He is, yeah. And yeah, that's why I really didn't agree with that quote from him at the beginning about, you know, people will just think I'm playing against type. And there were some reviews that said, like, he should just stick to being the bad boy. But, like, I thought he was perfectly great in this role. Like, I don't have a problem with any of their performances. It's the script.
Yeah, I just also, that quote bothers me because, like, they're actors. Their job is to do different things.
Yes.
Or, I mean, maybe you can play the same character or same type, sure,
I mean,
be known
people
for it.
get
But like,
typecast, but yeah. I did like this scene where Leslie and Kevin are arriving at Jules' apartment, and the gay neighbor that they kept trying to set up with Kevin kind of like pops his head in, and Kevin is very obviously with Leslie, and he's like, "Hi, Ron." Like, look at me with my girlfriend.
right.
We see Jules doing more drugs. We see Leslie being like increasingly worried about her, and she just leaves them in her apartment. Oh, I'm sorry. Leslie's moving in with her. That's what it is. So I was going to say, she just leaves them in her apartment to go be with the affair partner. Yeah, that is picking her up. But this is also where Kevin is like, we should move in together. We should get a place together. And Leslie is like, oh my God, please slow down. I kind of hate this because she ends up just like breaking it off with Kevin. Sort of.
I thought that at first, but then I realized there is nothing to break off. They had a one night stand. Yes, they were drinking and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, that happens. And I feel, though, she knew his feelings for her because he literally told her. My notes say this. Oh no, poor Kevin. Leslie sort of used him. Also, calm down, Kevin. Slow your roll / puppy love.
Yeah.
Even before this quote-unquote breakup happens, he's just like nuzzling her and all over her and just like, in a room. It's a little much. I get it. He's probably waited 5-6
like
years.
4 years. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I get it. And this is the woman he's loved the whole time. And he had to see this other guy with her and then also cheat on her.
Yes.
But it was annoying in this scene, like how much infatuation he had with her. Mm-hmm. And then I still felt bad when she's like, Kevin, we weren't anything. We had sex, and I just am done with this relationship, her and Alex, and I need to breathe a little bit.
I could understand somewhat Kevin thinking like, oh, finally, you know, I got the girl. But it is reasonable for Leslie to be like, I just got out of a 3 or 4 year relationship. Hold on. I feel like there could have been somewhere in between where, like, yes, we had this one night stand, but let's like slow it down. But it just kind of blows up, and I feel bad for both of them. I can't help feeling bad for Kevin because I'm always such a hopeless romantic, but I completely understand where Leslie is coming from here.
Well, then Alec calls the apartment, and like this is kind of about that time in the conversation where she's kind of explaining to Kevin they're not really going to be a thing. Yes. And he's like, oh, is that Alec? Tell him to move. And he's like egging everybody on. Now he's just being a scorn lover, even though...
Yes. Yeah, he's not handling this well.
No.
I had written something a little bit earlier, like all the men are garbage except Kevin. And now I'm like, oh, never mind. Kevin can't really handle complex emotions or being told no either. So,
See, this is where the tectonic plates are shifting. He
Yep.
went from like the 1 as far as least bad. If 7's the worst, maybe he's like at the 2 or 3 now. I don't know.
I don't know. I did like this little scene where Kevin is walking with Kirby and they're just talking about how, neither of their relationships, I guess, worked out. I don't know what to call them really. And I think it's Kirby says to Kevin, like, you're right, love sucks.
Yep.
And he says, I always thought we'd be friends forever. And Kevin says, yeah, well, forever got a lot shorter suddenly, didn't it?
Yeah.
And I did like that bit. But again, could have been a movie about the complications of post-college life and putting all the pieces of your life together and trying to maintain your friend group without it being like so messy.
Right.
These people are exceptionally messy.
Yes, all of them.
Yes, all of them. Mm-hmm.
All right, so who else has to fall? Oh, Jules. Mm-hmm. Jules needs her moment.
Yes. So melodramatic.
Oh, God. This is where I got, like, Spanish soap opera.
Mm-hmm.
God, how do we even get here?
Okay, so basically, Jules has lost everything. Her...
Oh, yeah, Repo Man came.
Yeah, the Repo Man came, took all her belongings, took her Jeep.
Just had a thought where, like, Emilio Esteban's character from Repo Man came and took all her stuff. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I get it. So, Jules, the affair partner dumped her. She has no money, so all her belongings are being taken away. She's in this empty apartment now in like a thin t-shirt with all the windows open, apparently trying to freeze herself to death.
Is that what she's trying to do? That's just what they're saying, like, hey, let us in, you'll freeze to death. Is she purposely trying to freeze herself? I just thought she was strung up and depressed. And actually, the first thing I thought, because there's a shot of the empty apartment and you see something fluttering, but it's really quick, and then they go back to outside the door with the rest of the gang. I thought she was like trying to hang herself for a second. I was like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah. Okay, so I understand your confusion because I also was confused. However, Carl Kurlander, our co-writer, really did try to freeze himself to death in his dorm room after a girl dumped him in college.
Okay.
He said he was unsuccessful because he was at Duke in North Carolina.
Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I still can't get over the delivery, though, of one of them says she's going to freeze to death, and Kevin says, I think that's the point.
Yeah, it was Kevin.
But while this is going on, they're on the fire escape trying to get into her apartment. They cannot because there are bars on the window. Alec decides this is the time he should threaten Kevin's life and hang him over the fire escape.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going on.
That's going on, yeah.
Someone goes to get Billy, who apparently works at a gas station now. And
around the corner. Conveniently enough.
Yes. Another line that really killed me. Alex, he's working at a gas station or at a garage, whatever it is. And he's shocked. And Kevin says something like, yeah, he needed the money. And it's like, is that not why everyone has a job? Like, what?
Yeah, I didn't. What?
Or is Alec just personally offended that this is a job that he did not get for him?
Maybe they're just surprised he has a job.
Or that he would work there instead of one of these, maybe in Alec's mind, better jobs that he got for him.
Right. And at one point in all this chaos, I think maybe at the party, when he's, talking to Wendy and they're asking each other how they've been doing before he, blows it and puts his foot in his mouth.
Yep.
He had mentioned that he had to hawk the saxophone to pay the phone bill.
Yes.
So he is saxless.
Okay, did you notice, by the way, Kirby pops up with a blowtorch. I don't know if he got it from Billy's work. I don't know where it came from. But he seems a bit too jolly given the situation.
Yeah, he's really into saving the day, it seems like.
So they're trying to get in, blowtorch the bars while Billy is in the hallway. He's going to ram the door open. Jules finally unlocks the door to make it easier for him to then ram the door down. I don't know. But she
Yeah.
kind of lets Billy talk her down. I do remember, though, I did not remember a lot about this movie. I definitely remembered the shot of Demi Moore sitting in the empty apartment with these like really long billowing curtains all around her. Apparently, Kurlander, the co-writer, had to stop her from doing the scene naked because she thought that would be better and more dramatic.
It makes sense, but also it's not necessary, but
Yeah, he told her like he appreciated where she was going with it, but it would just make everything too difficult to film, basically.
right, yeah. So Billy is now the voice of reason. His tectonic plate shifted up again.
He's
got a job.
matured. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a job. He saves the day. He is the only one in this room talking to Jules. Mm-hmm. Now he's the friend she needed. This could have been prevented, right?
Sure, yeah.
But there's a line that just struck me where she's like, I never thought I'd be this tired at 22. Like, this over performance of that one line, and just the line itself, I was like, honey, wait till 40.
Yeah, that is the other bit I remember. It's funny because I'm sure as a middle schooler watching this, I was like, damn, adulthood's like so hard.
Yeah, if you fucking do a bunch of drugs and don't pay your bills.
I still empathize with this a little bit because in my experience, like this was not necessarily an easy time in my life, but I'm going to go ahead and blame the recession. I feel like if I was 22 in 1985 with an international banking job and my own apartment and stuff, I would have felt like I made it. And like you said, just like don't do drugs and don't bang your boss and it'll probably be okay.
Listen, I'm not going to tell anybody to do or not do drugs, but just do it enough where you can afford it. Like, don't do all the drugs.
Do
come on.
affordable drugs.
Yeah, just do enough drugs.
Take
Don't
all
do
your
drugs, kids.
advice from us.
Don't do drugs and don't drive drunk.
This could have been just like a dare movie. Okay, but this is also where Billy, according to the Wikipedia page for St. Elmo's fire, erroneously claims that the phenomenon is, quote, not even a real thing. It is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the description got muddled because, again, way back when, sailors thought it was something it wasn't. It's just this like natural phenomenon that they didn't understand. They named it after St. Elmo, who is actually St. Erasmus of Formia, who is the patron saint of sailors. So that part makes sense. But
Okay.
I'm pretty sure in the movie they're like, St. Elmo isn't even a real saint. And that's not
Yeah.
true. So,
And the way he describes it, he made it sound like more like Aurora Borealis.
yeah,
I don't know,
That's
maybe
true,
that's how
too.
I was taking it from what he was saying. I don't know.
when I looked it up, I was like, this is not what I pictured. Because I think I was also picturing something more like that, too, based
Yeah.
on Rob Lowe's little monologue here.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? That's not the important part, actually.
No.
Okay, so then, whatever, Jules is saved. This bit killed me when everyone else enters the apartment and the guys are like huddled around the door listening. It's what, Alec, Kevin, and Kirby. And they're laughing. It's all okay.
Yeah.
It was awful.
It was very after school special.
Yes. But then we end with Wendy finally has her own apartment. She's finally been like allowed to move out of her parents' house. She and Billy are just hanging out. Billy asks her once again if she is still a virgin. She is once again offended, which I appreciate. But then he's kind of like, could I have a going away present? And
Right.
basically his going away present is sleeping with her.
Yeah. What? You know why, though? We forgot to mention a very important thing that happened in the scene.
Huh?
The sax is back. He has the sax back. He's feeling himself. I don't know. I thought that was weird.
He's
I don't like
decided
any
to
of
go
that.
to New York to pursue music. He explains this as It's too confusing for his baby daughter to have him around as just a dad who sees her on the weekend, so he's gonna nope on out of her life.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
thought I was surely misunderstanding this. I had to like rewind this scene.
Yeah.
It's too
Yeah.
confusing for him to just see her on the weekends. She's better off without him. Maybe she is better off without him
She's better off
from
without
what we've
him.
seen, but
Well, like also in this scene, they talk about some guy Wendy's with, not Howie because she returned him, but somebody else, and he mentions about like that's when he asks about if she's still a virgin and some about getting married, and I'm like, why does everyone in this movie get married so quickly?
yeah, I think it was still just of the time, like people still got married right out of college sometimes. I don't know.
Like she just met this guy, she was in love with Billy, she was like put on a date with Howie twice maybe, and then now she's with some other guy who may or may not have a name, like Dale's boyfriend,
His
and
name's Dale.
doesn't exist. And I don't know. Everyone wants to get married right away. Like, can you like maybe find out what his name is first and then tell me so I can have better notes?
Well, it doesn't matter because she sleeps with Billy, his going away boyfriend. And we end up with all of them like saying goodbye to Billy at the bus stop for him to go off to New York. Did you?
Oh shit! This better be good.
When he's on the bus, he's like in the front.
I knew you were gonna say that. Everyone's acting like he's dying. He's not just. I mean, again, no cell phones. How are we gonna keep in touch? You have to write letters and get his apartment number, all that stuff. So yeah, you're losing a friend in a way. The shot is really cool. It's just really weird that it needs to happen. He gets on the bus.
Go and sit down.
No, he gets on the bus. The bus is facing us. We're a part of the group now. We're looking directly at the bus. We can see the bus driver and Billy are very well lit. Like they stand out and it's really cool looking. And the bus just backs away from the camera / us. So we get this like dramatic pull and sadness from Billy, or so it should be. It's just he's just standing there like looking solemnly at his friends. Like I thought maybe he's gonna get off the bus because like why are we still seeing him? Why is he not sitting down? Why is the bus driver letting him just stand there in his personal bubble? I don't know what's going on.
Okay, that's why I was like, is he going to sit down? Why is the bus driver driving away letting him just stand here like he's like co-conducting?
He works for the bus now.
Okay. But no, I thought that was like the dumbest shot because it's so like, okay, not like everything has to be realistic, but what what bus driver is just gonna let that happen? And then like you said, I was
know.
like, well, is he gonna get off because he's not sitting down?
Yeah, like he looked like he was thinking about it. Like he was very sad he's leaving his friends. So that would have made sense. But no, it's just a slow backing up of a bus.
With
Way too
him
long.
acting like co-driver,
Yeah.
like in the front. I did really like though how when he's saying goodbye, he kind of says goodbye to Wendy last, and he says, "I'll keep in touch," and she says, "No, you won't." And it's like, no, he won't. Like,
No,
thank
he
you for
won't.
finally realizing this, Wendy. Like, just let this man go.
Yeah.
Also, he's going to New York. They live in DC. It's like not that far.
It's a bus drive away.
Oh my
In
God,
reverse, apparently.
you could take the train. It's like not that bad. I don't know. I actually had to think back when I was writing my notes, like, is he going to LA? Is that why they're acting like this? And it's like, no. One quick line that he says when he's talking to Wendy in her apartment, he said something like, well, I'm just going to finally stop trying to be Alec. When did anyone think he was trying to be Alec? He was just taking jobs that Alec got him.
Yeah, didn't really buy that, I guess.
Yeah, no. Oh, and I don't like how they leave this like threesome, I guess, of Leslie, Kevin, and Alec. I don't like that they're leaving it as Leslie taking her time to choose between the two. I mean, it's not fair and I don't like it anyway, but also, like, Alex should not be part of the conversation. Like, she needs to move on from Alec. That's done
Right.
and over with. I could appreciate if it was a situation where she had developed feelings for Kevin but isn't ready to be in a relationship. That's fine and reasonable. But then she's like, oh, the two boys that I'm trying to decide between, could you just make up and be friends again? And they're like, sure.
I don't know. They all grew up in this end scene. And you know how I know that? Let me tell you how I know that. They're post bus stop and they're walking by St. Elmo's and they look in for a drink and they're all like, "Oh, we got work in the morning," or "I got to find a job tomorrow," or things like that. They have responsibilities now.
Yep.
And like, well, we can come here for brunch. And was like, no, let's go to Hula Hands or whatever because it's less young kids there.
Yes. Alex says, why don't we go to Hula Hands?
Yeah. What? So they've outgrew their college bar and their college life.
Yes.
They're adults now. They're big boys and girls.
Yeah. The end. I would also like to point out, I streamed this on Amazon and they started rolling credits, or they cut like the end scene off.
Yeah, I was so mad I had to go back and fast forward. 'Cause I'm like, I want to watch these credits, and that's when I learned about
Yes.
Kerbo and Dale. If I didn't watch credits, I would have never known this. There would have been no jokes.
There would have been no jokes.
This episode would have been half the length.
I'm sorry. How did you think her boyfriend's name was Dale?
I typed, "Why is she Dale?" all caps.
Yeah, I do think it's weird that Emilio Estevez is credited as Kerbo because, like, his character is definitely Kirby. I understand, like, they call him Kerbo, but
But sometimes I don't.
Like,
It wasn't like
sometimes.
a constant. Yeah.
yeah. Why is she Dale? Okay. I had a quote from Ali Sheedy that I just want to point out based on this ending scene. It's refreshing to play someone who isn't defined by who her boyfriend is or what her body looks like. And I would like to say that her character is very much defined by who her boyfriend is, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. She doesn't really do anything for herself.
Yeah. Like, she wants to, but where we leave her is deciding between two boys.
Yeah.
So,
Loveless, homeless, jobless, possibly.
Yep.
Can't live with Jules. Jules got repossessed.
yeah, that's... Oh, shoot. So did all of Leslie's stuff get taken?
No, I don't think she moved in all the way yet.
Okay.
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
She had like 3 vinyls. And some grandma clothes.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to keep the ball rolling because we don't want to hit the 4-hour limit.
No.
For multiple reasons. I have some other thoughts, and I feel like if this movie touched on some of these things, it would be less chaotic. I'm glad that they brought things up. I'm glad that it kind of wasn't just kids goofing around and whatever. Like, it could have been like a rom-com or whatever, and it had some serious tones to it, almost too serious at times, so much so that it became funny. But, like, they brought up a lot of 80s topics here without really a leg to stand on, but they kept bringing up, like, political stuff, Republicans, Democrats. Again, this is the 1985, so Republicans are kind of doing their thing.
Yeah.
You got your trickle-down effect that, Reaganomics, which isn't working, but all these kids seem to be, working out with finances at the start of the film, and they just blow it all away. Constant smoking, excessive drinking, the need to be successful, which leads to, like, your status in life, credit cards and overspending, again, like, big thing in the 80s. They touch on homosexuality a little bit. Drug use, infidelity, and, of course, virginity. It's a lot to take on in less than 2 hours with an ensemble cast.
Yes. I still maintain that you could have made a movie exploring these themes, exploring post-college life, and having it revolve around a group of friends without it being this friend group that was, like, sleeping together all the time. Like, I feel like that became the focus right?
Yeah.
So, like, there are some decent points made throughout this movie, like small ones. And like you said, they do explore some of these themes sometimes, but it all just gets overshadowed by like all of them just kind of being shitty.
Yeah.
And, Billy, I could completely appreciate someone kind of floundering and not wanting to have an office job and whatever because he's still young, but you just end up hating him because he's an idiot and he's like
Hmm.
abandoning his child and he's mean to Wendy.
It feels like there are so many themes here that they came to the cast and they were like handing them out like I said, like Pez candies. Like, all right, you get to maybe be
Yeah.
gay. We'll talk about that. You have a drug problem. We'll talk about that. You're
Mm-hmm.
obsessed with status, so we'll give you that. And then you're having a money problem because of that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it felt like.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, like the ideas of this movie and the themes that Joel Schumacher wanted to try to incorporate, like all of it had potential. I think it's just that those studios in the beginning were right and they're kind of unlikable characters.
Yeah.
St. Elmo's Fire grossed 37.8 million on a $10 million budget. It was a huge hit. The press referred to this and the Breakfast Club as the Little Chills, and they were comparing that to the movie The Big Chill from 1983. I think because they were ensembles. You will be surprised to hear that critics hated it, really hated it. The New Yorker, David Denby, the film critic for The New Yorker, St. Elmo's Fire is so depressing a portent of Hollywood's teen sycophancy because it not only devotes itself to stupid kids, it accepts their view of the world without any real criticism. The sole survivor of the general disaster is Ali Sheedy, who manages to make something charming out of the yup petulance. He also said that Joel Schumacher was brutally untalented.
Damn.
Yep. Rob Lowe actually won a Razzie for Worst Supporting Actor for this movie.
I didn't think he was too bad. It just I hated his character.
Yeah, I don't think any of them are like bad in this. I think it's just the story. Like they're unlikable for the most
Yeah.
part. The soundtrack was also a hit. It was composed by David Foster, who's a famous songwriter and composer. I know he's been working for a lot of decades, but the only thing I really know about this man is he is currently married to Catherine McPhee, who is like younger than his daughters. So,
I didn't know that.
oh, she's like our age and he's 75.
Okay. He should be a character in this movie.
Yep. Okay, so he worked with John Parr, a British singer, to write the main song called St. Elmo's Fire, parentheses, Man in Motion. It went to number one. There was a music video where he is singing in front of the bar, St. Elmo's, and it burns down. All the cast is there too, and he just like will walk. Well, first of all, the cast is there kind of looking forlornly through the windows as their bar burns down. But then there's a point where he just kind of walks around like greeting each of them and he like approaches them and kind of like thumps them on the shoulder, and it's very strange. The interaction with Rob Lowe in particular is awkward because they're sort of like weirdly smiling at each other as he sings. Your face.
I'm mad at myself that I didn't think to look at the music video because I loved watching the one for the Goonies. Oh, I failed.
Go look it up, please.
Yeah, I will after this. Like the second we're done here.
One of the articles I read said that he actually rubbed the cast the wrong way because they were all frustrated that they had to like come back to film this music video, and he took them being young actors as brand new actors, and he was trying to give them tips on how to act in the music video. So they were all frustrated that they had to film this. They also had to be in winter clothes for their outfits, and it was, I think, summer. And then they all were like really frustrated with John Parr giving them acting tips. Also, I could have sworn before we rewatched this that in the movie the bar burned down. Like, I could have sworn that their bar burns down. And I guess in my head I had confused it with the music video, but I don't know why, because I don't think I'd ever seen this, but who knows.
I mean, you might have seen glimpses of the video on MTV back in the day, so your
true,
brain
maybe.
maybe might have just connected them.
Yeah. Also, it's a great story about how he and David Foster wrote this song. Basically, John Parr sounded like he needed a break. He needed to step away. Like, nothing was coming to mind in terms of writing a theme here. And David Foster turned on this news report about the Paralympian Rick Hansen. He was doing this, like, you know when people like walk across the United States like a Forrest Gump kind of thing? He was doing this across Canada to show people that, you know, Paralympians, people in wheelchairs can still be mobile and do things. And it was very inspiring. And it was very inspiring to John Parr in particular. This tour he was doing was called Man in Motion. So John Parr admitted all this, like, in more recent years, and was like, this song was actually written about Rick Hansen, the Paralympian, and this is how he phrased it. I made the lyrics seem like the wheels were for Demi Moore's Jeep, but really it's about Rick Hansen.
Okay.
Yes.
I will say that to this day, and this is a song that does play in grocery stores, so I hear it a lot. To this day, I only know 3 lyrics to the song. It's like St. Elmo's fire, like it's like just static to me.
Yes.
I didn't know there was Jeeps. I didn't know there were wheels or Olympians.
Yeah.
Wow.
Apparently, when Tim Tebow like first got really popular, John Parr rewrote this song to be about Tim Tebow because he admired him. And that's when he was giving the interview that was like, did you know, despite all you thinking these are references to the movie, I wrote it about this Paralympian? And everyone was like, no, I didn't know that, because why would I know that?
Why would we know that?
Yes. But parentheses, Man in Motion. It is there in the title, I guess.
Yeah.
Why didn't we connect it to this Canadian Paralympian? Do you like how this all just gets weirder and weirder?
No.
Oh, okay. So there's also a song that is literally love theme from St. Elmo's Fire. Apparently it's played a lot at weddings, because when I was reading into the legacy that was mentioned. Also, it's played a lot at people's funerals. And if you there's a version with lyrics, which I didn't realize, because when I looked it up to listen to it, I was surprised when suddenly they started singing, because I thought this was an instrumental. It got so popular, they recorded a version with lyrics, which it was 2 Canadian singers that I am not familiar with. I think David Foster just got some of his friends. I can see why maybe it's played at funerals, because yes, it's about love, but there's also stuff about like letting go and we did our best and like, I don't know.
It's just called Love Theme from the movie?
Love theme from St. Elmo's Fire.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
I think it plays when Wendy and Billy sleep together.
Oh, great.
The 2 most in love, yeah.
Yes. Important question for this song, since it's maybe this scene. Yes or no? Is there sax in it?
I think so.
Yes. Gotta keep a theme.
Everything was a big hit. The movie was a hit. The soundtrack was a hit. Everyone's really popular. Unfortunately, this is also when the Brat Pack article came out. Emilio Estevez was maybe the most affected by it, because like he arguably started this whole thing. He invited the guy out. This was supposed to be a piece about him specifically. He's the one that made the mistake of thinking this man was just his bud that wasn't gonna report anything that made anyone look bad. He said it completely changed the direction of his career. I was interested in all these movies, all these projects he had talked about, both in the article and before the article. There was some movie he had written, the one that John Hughes really liked. I think he said it was about two garbage men who get involved with like trying to solve a murder. And
Mm-hmm.
he was talking about who could play, like he would be one of them and who could play the other one. And he was just naming like Rob Lowe or Judd Nelson, like people that were in the Brat Pack. And I don't know if that movie ever even got made. I saw something in his filmography about two garbage men and they end up maybe spying on the mob, somehow getting involved with the mob, and it's him and Charlie Sheen. So
Yeah.
maybe that is what it turned into.
When I read the article, that's exactly what I thought it was.
Okay. But there were just, I don't think this like deal ever really went through because they were really talking this up like it was going to be huge. He was going to be the youngest person with, a writing, directing, acting deal. We do not invoke Orson Welles lightly, right? So, because for those who maybe are not aware, like this is him making Citizen Kane. Like this was huge. This is movie history, and they're putting Emilio Estevez into that kind of a conversation. His filmography was kind of just like that movie with Charlie Sheen and the Mighty Ducks. Like he really just secluded himself.
Yeah, after reading the article and knowing not much about his career besides what you just said, it's like, oof, man, he felt that.
Yes. He also, at this point, was dating Demi Moore. I believe they started dating either while the movie was filming or shortly after finishing. They were engaged. Like, they were very serious. They broke up in 1987, from what I saw. But even, oh, they must have been dating on the set because Andy McDowell said that Emilio Estevez was so fun to work with, but it was an odd situation because he was with Demi Moore all the time, or at the time, so she felt weird filming like somewhat romantic scenes with him while his girlfriend was right there. And they were all just like really young and new, and it was weird. But for a lot of them, it seemed like maybe instead of doing press for St. Elmo's Fire, they were suddenly doing all this press about the Brat Pack. And there's this documentary called Brat that Andrew McCarthy directed. It's on Hulu and Disney Plus. They showed all these scenes of them being on like Donahue, where it's like all of them, sitting in the row on Donahue being made to answer for, are you really brats? Is it really bad behavior? Are you taking this all for granted? And there is a part where Donahue says something like, we're just worried that you're all gonna like get too much too fast. It's gonna go to your head. And also, do you even deserve all this? But in the clip I saw, he was saying it almost directly to Ali Sheedy, which I'm like, no, she deserves all of it. Leave her alone. She wasn't even in the article.
Yeah, it was just all men. Leave the ladies alone.
Right. But yeah, there was a lot of more so interview questions about the article about what does the Brat Pack mean? And do you find it offensive? Which, for the record, they all did. They all felt it was really distracting. It took away from their movies. It took away from their careers. I also think they were all confused about the idea of them being portrayed as this big group of friends that like will only do movies together, because they were like, yeah, we're all the same age, so we hang out like when we're filming, and maybe some of us are friends outside of filming, but it's not like we're this unit that will only do movies together. And they felt like that limited what was offered to them in the future. But also, I believe it's in the documentary, either Emilio Estevez or Kevin McCarthy says something like, you're part of the Brat Pack. Like, Martin Scorsese's not going to call up a member of the Brat Pack to be in his movie. And I was like, okay, I kind of get what you're saying here. But at the same time, like, some of them obviously broke out of it because this article was lumping like Tom Cruise with them, Sean Penn, Matthew Broderick. So it didn't hurt like everyone's careers. Maybe that was just luck.
Yeah, maybe just luck. Or there's also this guy who seemed like picking on everyone that age based on this one night out with Emilio. And as I said at the top of the show 2 days ago, that a lot of these actors that he mentioned, I never once even conceived them being a part of this Brat Pack. Like, right. I thought it was just this small group of friends that were in a lot of like movies together, but also included the female counterparts as well.
Yes.
So yeah, this is all new to me.
Yeah, agreed on
And I
all
also
of
thought it
that.
was like a term of endearment and not like like a trash article and got them all in trouble or ruined their careers.
Right, exactly. So relating this all to Emilio Estevez, remember when we talked about the Breakfast Club and he was never really involved in any of the appearances, like the anniversary appearances. It would always be most of the cast, but not him. He literally in that documentary says that he stayed away from everything because he was so really, it sounded like he was so overwhelmed with being kind of the cause of all this. And then the Brat Pack label, and he tells Andrew McCarthy in that documentary, like, I'm asked to do events or retrospectives for like Repo Man, Breakfast Club, St. Elmo's Fire. I won't do any of it because I don't want to talk about like the Brat Pack thing.
Hey, I mean, fair enough. Why bring that back up? And he knows they're probably going to ask him.
Yeah, I guess I think just coming at this as someone who was not, old enough to be consuming pop culture when the Brat Pack was a thing, I was just so surprised at what it really was and how it was so
Right.
negative. It was just shocking to me that this very successful actor would be like, oh, okay, gonna go retreat and not gonna do this anymore. And that's it. My life is over. Bye.
Bye.
Yep. Second coming of Orson Welles. Just like dropped everything. And he's a recluse
Yeah.
and did the Mighty Ducks, and that's it.
And I thank him for that.
I know. Yeah, for my whole childhood, I just knew him as the guy from the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, it was like the guy from the Mighty Ducks who, when he was younger, did Breakfast Club. And that's all I knew.
I don't think I even knew Breakfast Club until I was like old enough to start seeing that on TV, and then I was like, oh, it's the guy from the Mighty Ducks.
Well, that's what I mean, though. You see him like, oh, clearly he did a movie before, and then maybe he like went to school or something, and I don't know.
Yeah. Apparently, it's current legacy. It really is discussed as like this horrible movie. I think the Metacritic score is like 35. For people that don't know, it's out of 100. Carl Kurlander, however, went to work on Bill Clinton's presidential campaign. This man had an interesting career. He's currently like a film professor at the University of Pittsburgh because I
Oh,
found
nice.
some quotes from him about St. Elmo's Fire from that. Yeah. He said that when he was on the Clinton campaign, he found that the movie was really popular with the younger staff. And specifically, George Stephanopoulos, in particular, like said it was his favorite movie, which like side-eyeing him slightly.
What?
And Kurlander said that it seems like the film's plot introduced many of its youngest viewers to the basics of political ideology, which, like, maybe, but I guess my pushback there is we don't really ever hear about what it means to be a Democrat or Republican. We just
No.
hear them giving Alec a hard time for, like, switching his allegiance.
Yeah. What political ideology? Being unfaithful, doing drugs, spending outside of your means. I mean, well, you know what? No comment on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. They were all Republicans after all.
Oh, Lord.
Hey, I didn't write it.
Fair enough, man. So, a critic named Joe Queenan wrote a book in 1998 called Red Lobster, White Trash, and the Blue Lagoon, which is about 80s movies. In terms of St. Elmo's Fire, he wrote, it was one of those movies that remind us that the 80s were far, far worse than any of us can recall today. And by helping these monsters get their careers off the ground, we will be paying for our sins for decades to come.
I feel like it's unfair to associate the actors from these horrible characters. Like,
Right.
they're just doing their job. They didn't write it. They're
I know.
helping these monsters. Yeah, because they're actually these people.
Well, right. And like, did they murder someone? Like, what? Jeez.
And this is a critic, so he knows how like film works, right?
Right. Yeah. No, you inhabit every part you play, it becomes you.
Mm-hmm.
Consequence of Sound, which is like an online like pop culture site, they were doing a series about, they called it the worst movie ever made. They just kind of, different writers would put out their theories on what is the worst movie ever made. Justin Gerber was a writer for this series. He made an argument that St. Elmo's Fire was the worst movie ever made. And he said, I am prepared to say it's the worst movie of all time, with all the necessary stipulations lined up and accounted for.
Damn.
Yep. However, maybe because he did his documentary, I don't know. Andrew McCarthy has recently said that his role in St. Elmo's Fire was his favorite from that time. I mean, he was in Pretty in Pink and some other big movies, so I don't know. He said he had a lot of fun in the part where he played the bongos. Maybe that's all it takes.
Sure.
I was trying to find, opinions they all had looking back at this. I couldn't find many. Rob Lowe did say that he's very embarrassed that he's quoted in the Wikipedia entry for St. Elmo's Fire as like, Rob Lowe's character in the movie gets this completely wrong. And he's like very embarrassed that it's incorrect, even though, again, it's not like Rob Lowe was here to teach us about science,
Right. All right, so this movie was great, and everyone wanted to see more of it. So let's plan a sequel, shall we? August of 2009, ABC announced plans to develop a TV show based on the movie. Use the movie as a takeoff point and then as an inspiration, and introduces 6 new friends, 3 boys, 3 girls. Topher Grace was a part of the production team pitching the idea. Joel Schumacher was going to be an executive producer. August 2019, NBC announced it was developing a TV series based on the movie. A lot of TV ideas here based off this. Maybe because, the big ensemble cast and they can do longer deep dives into their messed up lives. I don't know.
Maybe. Like
through a season versus 2 hours.
Yeah. But and a lot did happen in the movie, so I kind of get it.
A lot happened, yeah. So to your point, in June 2024, the Bratz documentary was released on Hulu, directed by Andrew McCarthy, who played Kevin. Its success convinced them to greenlight a legacy sequel where all 7 actors would reprise their roles. And as of June 2025, Rob Lowe confirmed a script for the sequel was still being worked on.
Joel Schumacher's passed away, right? Yeah, Joel Schumacher died in 2020.
Okay.
I feel like this is a story we always hear where they're just talking about it for years and years and years, and now it's so far removed to the point where major players have passed away and we get a random, crew member, cast member being like, oh, still coming, still being worked on.
I guess my question for this example is why, when originally they were like, we don't know about these 7 monsters, and then it got backlash and cited as worst movie of all time, and let's make a TV series or sequel because people loved it?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, obviously, it was a box office hit, so that would maybe convince them to do a sequel more immediately.
Right.
I could see, though, if maybe the backlash to the Brat Pack thing was, maybe keeping people from doing that at the time.
Yeah, it made, $30 million, so they should have struck while the St. Elmo's Fire was hot.
Mm-hmm. Took me a second.
I couldn't help myself. But, now, it's no.
Well, now, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I can't imagine Rob Lowe of The West Wing and Parks and Rec going back to play Billy with his dumbass saxophone. Surely Demi Moore has better things going on. But then also, from what I saw of the documentary, I watched most of it. I didn't get to finish it before we recorded this. I don't think Judd Nelson is ever interested in talking to Andrew McCarthy.
I don't think Amelia would probably want to do it anyway.
Well, Yeah, that's what I was about to say too. Emilio Estevez seems pretty much over all of the Brat Pack stuff. He is in the documentary though, so that's, I mean, that would be a big gap, I think, if they couldn't convince him to talk to them. Because he, like, started all of this.
Yeah.
Poor guy. Ah, okay. So, did St. Elmo's Fire hold up?
I might have to bow out. It's my first viewing of it.
I know.
So, as far as the nostalgia factor, can't answer that. It is no, it's an 80s nightmare. There was some things I liked about it, like the acting, some of the staging, but then I also found it ridiculous at the same time. I didn't hate it. I wouldn't maybe say it's the worst movie of all time, but I don't know if, unless someone asked me to revisit it for another podcast episode, I don't know if I will put it back on. Just, I don't know. When I finished it and looked at my notes, and then during this conversation, I had a thought of, I wonder if this is 1985's version of Requiem for a Dream. It's just depressing. All the characters hit their lows of lows. I don't want to watch them go through this again.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I don't know what I would consider the worst movie ever, so I'm not gonna. That's a lot, but I don't know if I need to revisit this. I will say, actually, in terms of it being such a perfect microcosm of the 80s, I would almost want to experience someone else watching it for the first time. I told one of my neighbors she should really see Return to Oz, and she was like, okay, cool, we should watch it sometime. And then she's like, oh, well, I'll just watch it on my own because I'll be boring for you. You've already seen it. I was like, no, I would love to see you experience this movie for the first time, actually. So St. Elmo's Fire is kind of there for me.
You're like a film sadist.
I want to see other people's reactions to this experience.
Fair enough.
I don't know. I still maintain that this idea had so much potential.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, you do kind of have to make the characters likable, or at least a shitty person you still somehow want to root for. An anti-hero, if you will.
Right.
And I just think they dropped the ball with that one there. All right. Well, we would love to hear your thoughts on St. Elmo's Fire, as well as your own favorite films from 1985. You can find us on Instagram at Back Through the Lens Pod and on Facebook at Back Through the Lens. You can also email us at backthroughthelenspodcast@gmail.com. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating and review. It's the best way to support our show.
If you enjoyed our show today, please give us a like and follow for updates on new and future episodes. Our show is produced by our host, Rachel Campbell, and myself, Joe Sielmick, with additional help and support from Peter Telep of LPV Productions. Peter, Rachel, and I are also the executive producers. Our awesome logo is brought to you by Tom Fracci, and our wonderful theme songs by Matt Tarek. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more trips into our movie-watching past on Back Through the Lens. This episode's gonna be 5 hours long.
All right.
All right. We're on page 5 of 5,000.
Yes.
This fucking movie. We're never gonna get done.
No. Oh my God.
Are we still on page 8? God damn this movie. We're gonna have more on the outtakes than we are in the intakes.
Well, we would love to hear your thoughts on St. Elmo's Fire.
What? What? Oh, my face hurts. Oh my God.
I can't do it. This movie broke me.